you said that you love winning. What drives you more, the love of winning or the hate of losing?
Maybe equally, maybe both. I don't like losing, and I do like winning.
Say his name and he appears.
This is a friendship that'll never ever end.
Greetings and welcome to Winning Tonight Friday edition. How's everybody doing out there? Hope you're all doing and living well. Let me start, as always, by thanking those awesome people out there in the winner circle. Make it happen on a monthly basis. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. You are part of the solution. And a big thanks to Shelly Wolfram and Ronnie Jam for supporting us over on Rumble on a monthly basis as well. Guys, tonight, we are going to take a look at the JFK files aftermath as it stands today. We're going to talk about some of the reactions from around the new media scene, as well as take a look at, from what we have gathered on our own, what Oswald's real motive is spelled out through his own actions, associations, and words. Also, we'll have some top news for you in the show as well. Writing down a few stories here and there of what we're doing. I think mostly we'll be talking about this aftermath of the JFK files and what's to come, as well as what we are working on here. As promised, we're collecting and putting together that organized database of all the files so that we can actually so that we can specifically and truthfully look at them without any bias coming into it. So yeah, that's the thing about me, is I didn't have bias coming into it. You know, I didn't really look at it like, oh man, there had to be two people, or this organization had to be behind it, or that organization had to be behind it. So that's a nice clean slate to start with. So I don't have any kind of things to unprogram myself from. But with the information coming out, this is what everybody wanted for so long, right? They wanted it for so long, and I guess what they wanted was the files to come out and prove them right, regardless of where they set their opinions from, their belief system had been formed from, whoever got into it. And we're going to see a variety of examples of that tonight. Just want to point it out and say that, you know, at this point, nobody has gone through all the files, but though we're getting real close on our end. However, when it's all said and done, I'm going to try to do something necessary with these. So let's just put it that way. Let me say hello to this awesome crowd out here, guys. Thanks so much for joining here on our Friday evening. Let me say hello to these VIPs out there in the front row. Heidi, how you doing over on the Rumble side? Holding it down. She's on the YouTube side as well. Thank you for that. How you doing, Heidi? MJ, how you doing? Always one of the first ones in the door. There's MJ saying hello. How you doing, MJ? Good to see you. Welcome to the show. And there is Wolfram, my friend. Thank you for dropping these links. How you doing, Wolfram? You made it back from dinner. I hope you had a good dinner, man. I hope you didn't rush on my account. Please don't do that. Enjoy your dinner. And remember, guys, when you're here to always listen to the wolf, he knows what he's talking about. He wipes his paws, he lopes in, and he howls. And that's how you know the Alphabet is in the house. Yes, indeed. Back to the comments. Oh, look, there's Libby. Happy Friday, Libby. How you doing? Good to see you. How you doing out there, guys? We got Marquis over on the Rumble side. Hey, Marquis, how you doing? Welcome to the show. And there's Ozawi. Ozawi, how you doing? Ozawi on the Rumble side as well. Good to see you. Good to see you. Shinagram, how you doing? She made it. She made it. She made it. We got all kinds of folks in the house. Shelly is out there, but she is heads down working on those files as she started earlier today. If you were at her stream, thank you for going to there and supporting her. She is very organized, and she's putting things into a database of different folders that will then be used for greatness. So she's busy doing that tonight. She may be in here commenting from time to time, but she is on a roll, and we're going to let her roll on. We're going to let her do that because when she's on a roll, you want her to keep on rolling. All right. Oh, man. So, guys, what do you think so far out there with these this JFK file week as it pertains to things? Oh yeah, she is working hard. Yep, she is. Oh, and I tell you what, you won't even, she's gotten a lot further since her stream, and some of the things she's uncovering is very interesting indeed. Very, not changing much, but it is also it's also going back to a time that we've been talking about a lot on the show, especially during our coverage of on Unrig the Game of Big Intel by J. Michael Waller. That time frame, the Cold War time frame, the emergence of ideological subversion, the war of Marxists against America, Marxism against America, and how the old school, the Cold War heroes, as they were, and he touted in his book, were trying to combat that. So a lot of really cool and interesting things coming up from that that are starting to kind of make its way and into the files. She's about I don't know. There's 180 or 200 files in right now. But there's a ton about what we were doing to kind of fight the rise of communism, Marxism, and socialism, etc. All the same thing. They're all Marxist and at the root. And how much those old school intelligence officers were trying to do something about it, and trying to raise the alarm about it, and how much information they were actually uncovering, how many plots they were uncovering. So many things were listed in these files that aren't going to be talked about by a lot of folks out there. So I hope that you guys will continue to come here for information about this, get a different perspective on things, because you can go out there and listen to people try to confirm their biases about things, and I'm going to show you some examples of that coming up. But are they really giving you the information that you can, something we can learn from about history? Are they just trying to be right? That's the problem with this world, of a lot of ways. Even the UFO grifters are getting in on this. Oh, he said he wanted some stuff before he was assassinated about UFOs. And then, of course, the UFO does not equal alien. And, so there's one of these things we haven't, that fly by and we don't know what it is. That would be considered UFO. So yeah, there's one page of that, and the UFO grifters are going nuts about it. I gotta tell you guys, all 11 of you on the YouTube side and 12 of you on the Rumble side, it is it's one of those things where, and then there's this other thing about the pyramids. Like, I'll talk about that at a later date, but somebody did an aerial kind of like top, aerial kind of like view of well, they used a device that would kind of like let them see underneath the pyramids, and they thought that they came up with what seems to look like some kind of pillars under there, and boy, people have ran with it. Some days like today and things that are going on make me question reality. And I often do, and I'll often reassess my views on it. That's kind of the way it works with me. But it's like, I think most people just want to have like piss in their ears, right? I think most people just want people pissing in their ears, a bunch of bullshit. And I just thought, it's like, I look at it and I'm like, man, those kind of things. Like, if I was to get up here and be like, man, these files, the government's lying to us, it was the CIA and 2 shooters, and I know it. Man, you ain't never gonna pay me. it's just like, dude, one, I'd be lying to you, right? Two, um, I would be I would be I would be pulling you in a direction, right? With no evidence whatsoever, but I would be reassuring you of your bias, right? And that is a form of manipulation. I'm just not built for it. But I think that's what people want these days. I really do. It's like, are they so conditioned? These generations right now that are out and about in the adult world are so conditioned to this process that they have a hard time escaping it. And I just can't give them what they want. I think that's probably has a lot to do with and I think a lot of people get that, like they understand that that's the way the world is. So that's how they operate, and they're perfectly healthy and fine doing that. Like they feel good about themselves doing that. I don't. It's not in me to do that. And that's probably why I struggle. My channel struggles, and we are where we're at, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, well, that's what people want, though, MJ. They do. They want that. They want that. They want someone to tell them that their low information, unresearched opinion is right. And when someone comes in and tries to bring them to a better place with the truth, that's not for everybody. They really argue. No, I'm right. I heard it from a guy. I heard it from a thing. I dreamed it up myself. My imagination tainment tells me it's true. Therefore, it is. I'm smart. I can put my pants on in the morning. I'm real smart. So it's like I'm more about understanding the conditions of things and how the mind works and what gets us to a place. And this all stems back from just seeing friends turn on friends and family over politics. And what was that mechanism that was driving a wedge? So you could have this beautiful friendship, this beautiful, loving friendship with people that seems like it's so close that it's family. And then in a split second over something that is so disconnected from the two of you, it could be over, right? What is that, right? Most people will just blow it off. What is it? Is it something that's natural? Is it something that are manufactured, right? It's just something we can do about it, or is it not? Are you just done, right? But I think this whole online world, media world, everything like that is really, really, really skewed to a point where um people just they don't even maybe even realize it half the time. They want to be right. They don't care about the truth. And that's kind of the opposite of what we do here. Like I said, man, there's some things you can guarantee you're going to get when you come here or not get, right? One, I'm never going to piss in your ear, right? I'm going to value your time and give you valuable stuff for spending time with me. Two, I'd rather know the truth than be right. We'd rather know the truth than be right. Three, I'm never going to confirm your bias, but I will walk with you to the truth. Four, we're never going to jump the shark, right? But if I was doing all these things, I'd probably be, I'm better off, maybe. I don't know. I guess I could kneel down to the establishment too. That's another way. But those guys aren't doing as well these days, are they? It's a matter of who are you, people out there, who are they willing to run over to get what they want? I've never been like that. I guess that's probably why I'm just not, maybe if I had been that way, you have to have like a lot of less guilt. Maybe I should have done like some horrible drugs when I was younger and erased my care, erased my my guilt factor, right? So that I could just run over people and not give a fuck. But that's the world we live in. That's the way I see these people out there making money, making profit, getting notoriety, getting reach, influence, just by lying to people, just by completely pulling them in the direction they want to go. And it's just not me, man. So I don't know. I always am rethinking things and thinking things through, but I just have to say that it makes me consider what I'm doing here and if it's necessary and if it's even one of these things I need to do. I'm not searching for fame. I am searching for to help people out and to and to show them what I know, what I've learned over time. I think it's interesting what I've learned over time. By keeping an open mind and always questioning the void and all that stuff. But it is what it is. But let's talk about what the main topic is, right? So that's the things when I look around the internet and I see I see so many people that go, these files, right? And I know damn well they haven't had a chance to go through many of them. And they're just looking to cherry pick things that are going to confirm their bias. And I found this throughout many different takes today. So I'm going to show you some takes from different people. And we're going to examine the bias confirmation going on in these takes, and but how prevalent they are and what shows are on and who's kind of doing it. And they're not all that. They're just varying degrees of things, right? People come in with a belief, but do they ask where they got that belief from? Right? Where did I gather that belief from? That's the trick, right? That's how you start to free your mind from the influence of other beliefs, right? Other people's beliefs, other people, things, thoughts, ideas people have put into your head. You begin to do that by going back to your sources. It's called revetting your sources, right? And this goes for anything you do throughout life, right? It's how you don't get stuck in a lie. Don't get stuck in a false sense of reality. And you have to do this because over the course of time, your level of understanding grows, more facts come out, you mature, you become wiser, and you are context is king. You become a newer person, a more experienced, a more wiser person. So you should go back and say, well, when did I start believing that and why? Why do I think that way? Where did I get that information from? I guarantee you a lot of people out there who believe certain things about certain events in time can't even tell you why they started believing those things the way they do. Now, some that have gone on to make livings backing up those, that narrative, they'll remember their sources. You got the UFO guys, they're like Edgar Casey and all their other grifty guys from the past. They can throw some names out, right? But are those guys credible? Do they deserve your trust at this point in time? So you carry these belief systems with you a long time, and do you even remember where you got them? So that's the question, right? Here's one guy. Let me go ahead and pull up our first video of the evening. I got a new folder going. It's called the JFK files. And like I said, by the way, we're gonna get the base truth version of this shit going on, right? And it can be what it is, But what about when you get to do it yourself? And that's the thing, right? Does that help or hurt? All right. What about when you get to do it yourself, right? When you get to do your own investigation yourself? That's the way it kind of should be, right? Well, in modern times, maybe there's a way to do that. We'll keep working on it here. But I am going to try to make it so that people can answer their own questions, right? Without somebody else getting in the middle of it. And that may be the solution. I don't know. A second. All right. Okay. So first up to bat, I want to go through some of these early takes, right? And this is the problem with not walking it in. Like when we did our stream the other night, when we did our stream the other night, I pulled the files up each one by one, right? And I said what they were, and we kind of did a hodgepodge. We kind of picked through, right, to see what they were still talking about at certain points. Obviously, you can't get them all done on one stream, but there was just on it is what it is kind of walk in, right, and it is what it is kind of thing. And so we took them for what they were worth, without any kind of we're trying to get them to say this. Okay, so take that into consideration when we listen to these different takes that are going on from around the internet and in new media especially. And we will see what we can find out here.
30% of all files surrounding JFK's assassination have not yet been released.
Truth, right? He's saying 30% of them haven't been released. Is that no? Hold on. I thought he said haven't been read. Haven't been released. Really? Okay.
And after more than 60 years of secrecy surrounding the murder of JFK, questions still swirl. Many suspect a shadow.
Is he trying to say there's more coming? Is that what he's trying to say? Does this guy even know what he's talking about? See what I'm saying? He just told his audience that 30% of the files haven't been released. Is that true? I thought they were all released. Did they say this is just phase one of release? Are we expecting more? Crowd, have you heard anything? All y'all that are out there listening, have you heard anything? Have you heard anything? Now is your time to be part of the investigation. Make sure you guys are talking and chatting back at me so we can do this thing together. Even if it's just something you don't notice, let me know. We're supposed to get more. There's supposed to be 80. Is it 80? You sure like 80,000 isn't mixed in with these files? Because there's some pages that go on for a while. And there's more than one page per PDF. So I don't know. Official statements. I haven't heard any official statements from anybody about whether we're getting more or not. Yes, I heard there's going to be 80,000, but is that not included in the PDFs that we already have? Like, 100 pages here. That's a lot of stuff. Of course, then we're just given that 80,000 number. And 3 phases? Okay. All right. So then nobody could be really drawing any definites, right?
Government-driven conspiracy. There's so many different indicators that point to something.
Okay, the government-driven conspiracy. Is that true? Again, you know how I do this, man. I break down people's words. I go from like, what are you saying, guy? So he just already has inserted his belief system, hasn't he? This government-driven conspiracy. Is it a government-driven conspiracy? Is it? We don't know, do we?
Something like that. And point to Alan Dulles, CIA director at the time. Many theorize about what LBJ, who was.
Yeah, here it is. The LBJ, Alan Dulles. These are things that people have said over time without any proof. I mean, they have theories about it, right? They said not without proof, but people start to adopt these as true beliefs, right? But without any proof. So these should all be not fully committed to a belief system, right? That's the way these things work. If it's a theory, you can't fully believe in it, right? Until you proof it as real, right?
Kennedy's vice president, what he might have known. And one of those that suspects something there is my next guest. Roger Stone is the author of the New York Times best.
Okay, Roger Stone. Here we go.
The man who killed.
Who wrote a book called "The Man Who Killed Kennedy: The Case Against LBJ." Now, guys, in case you don't know who Roger Stone is is a politician, a political advisor. Was part of Nixon. He's been let go several times for different things. He's been caught lying. He was regular on InfoWars, caught lying on that show about things. Admitted it in court that he had lied. And he is he's one of those kind of like, I don't know. I like him, as a character, I think. But he's kind of this great. He's kind of a grift, right? And he'll say anything, and he doesn't really have a conscience about lying to the public. I remember when he was on the Alex Jones show. I used to listen to the show a little bit. I don't listen to it all now, but I did listen to it back then. And during the Roger Stone days, and you think you're getting some real good information from him, right? Some insider stuff about Trump and all that stuff. And it turns out he was really at arm's length. He was going to be part of the Trump administration. At first, Trump's like, nah, I don't think so. And he came out and said, I can do more work outside of the administration to help him out. When he did promote him, he still promotes him a great deal, right? So I just think that his credibility is low. And also, he has a tattoo of Nixon on his body. Another man's face tattooed on his body. So you can just go with that. But he wrote a book, so he obviously has his own opinion on this, right? So we're talking about bias confirmation in the JFK files. So if the JFK files will come right out and confirm his bias, how is he going to approach this, right?
Kennedy, the case against Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ, and Roger Stone.
He didn't like LBJ.
Sir, it's good to see you again. What are your take on this release? The president, he really wanted to see it all.
He makes a lot of money on this with all this stuff too. He makes a lot of money.
And he made a big push, and it's something to me that we still don't have it all, despite this mandate from the President of the United States.
Well, hopefully we eventually will have it all. Remember that the Congress passed a law in 1994 which mandated the release of all of these documents, and that was supposed to be in 2017. At that time, President Trump decided to release about 80% of it, but the then Central Intelligence Agency director, Mike Pompeo, asked him to hold back 20%. To me, that was a leading indicator that the agency has something to hide. Now, what we've seen so far,
I mean, does it mean to say I have something to hide, or like was there some other reasons? I don't know.
Self-contradictions. I've always thought that
if they had something to hide, would they be in the documents, right?
Lyndon Johnson, and I think I've proven in my New York Times bestselling book that Johnson has an involvement here, but didn't certainly act alone. And there's more than enough evidence here that the Central Intelligence Agency, both
the way that they build the case that Lyndon B. Johnson is involved is by making connections, like loose connections that are unsubstantiated, right? So that's the way they do it. It's all about take this on faith. There's no hard evidence that he had anything to do with it, but the Roger's slightly more credible than Stephen Greer. I'll give him that. And he's a snappy dresser. Yeah. But other than that, if you want to make it fit, you could figure out some way to kind of like do circumstantial, evidence, or by connecting things that don't really connect. You can make a story out of anything. As we've learned from Stephen Greer, I mean, it's just all over the place. But anyways, let's let him continue.
Knew far more about Oswald than they said they did. On the other hand, if Oswald,
they knew far more about him than they said they did. From the first several pages of these documents, they showed that they were clearly tracking him as a person of interest, and this is the case document, so of course they're going to focus around them. Hey Arlene, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome. But listen to the language people use. Like I pay close attention to the words that they use when they're trying to make their case, and that's the way that I've been able to get through and kind of like figure out what's right and what isn't on all these grifts that are out there, all these different theories that are out there, because I think that we should be focusing on real theories, or real conspiracy, and not fake conspiracy. That puts our energy in the right spot. We may actually get something done if we do that. So that's why I've taken this approach. And then again, too, someone who's really based kind of person that knows that the establishment's corrupt, that wants to do something about it, are speaking some good terms about not listening to establishment propaganda, subversion, things like that, making some great points, and then they fly off the handle with some chemtrail weather weapon, flat Earth bullshit, and then they discredit the whole everything they said before that. Oh, so people now, that's the way the human mind works. Oh yeah, well that guy that's all they're going to hear. I know all the other stuff, you made a good point. You just send them right back to the mainstream media. You send them right back to the establishment narrative. And that's the danger of the second veil, living in the abyss, right? Is that you can get into that. So stay based in reality, work on real conspiracies like Agenda 2030 and things that are right in your face that are happening. The USAID money laundering, all these things that are coming out. These are true conspiracies. They really exist. But then you get these people who are like, okay, well, I'm going to focus on all these things that can't be proven, that have never been proven in decades, and that don't have any really basis in reality. But I'm going to back those anyways. But then they also will be on that outside the first veil perspective, where they're saying, well, the mainstream media lies. Well, that's true, they do, and I'm going to show you some establishment bullshit here in a minute, right? But that's the danger. So just to lay the foundation there, that's why I kind of push back on these things, because I think that we need to get to a point where we're working against real conspiracies and not focusing on the wild ones, the ones that one are just been debunked like forever, but people won't accept it. But two, also ones that discredit people, that pull them down into a state of discrediting, because they can't reach those people who are trapped behind the first veil and they're trapped in that establishment narrative. That's the idea, right? That's the idea.
Did indeed shoot John F. Kennedy on November 22nd, 1963. Why does he have no nitrates, no powder burns on his chest, his arms, or his hands?
That's okay. So he just made a complete assumption there. He's just putting that out there, right? So we have to take his word on this. So if you're listening to Roger and you want to believe him, right? What he just threw in there was a faith statement. I call it a faith statement, right? That means you have to take his word on that. You don't know. Like, where did he say, okay, here is the forensic evidence of this? Maybe he was wearing gloves. I mean, are you assuming that he would have powder on his chest He was wearing a jacket. He changed all those clothes. I don't know, you know, because Rogers he just decided that's true because that helps him build his case, right? You're supposed to take that on faith. But I don't know that what he's saying is actually true, or there isn't a better explanation as to why. But he's saying, why isn't it then, right? Like it's supposed to be there. That's a statement of faith.
Inconsistent with shooting a World War II vintage $26 Italian Army.
Okay. Really? Is anybody here an expert on this weapon and what it should look like when someone fires it? Roger isn't. I mean, but he'll make you think that he is.
Carbine. So I still stick to the basic thesis of my book that there is a plot that involves the Central Intelligence Agency, organized crime, Big Texas Oil. But
that sells, doesn't it? That sells. Well, he's got, hold on, Intelligence Agency, Big Texas Oil. Hold on,
a Big Texas Oil. But at the
Big Texas Oil,
a Big Texas Oil. But
how many people did he name right there?
That involves the Central Intelligence Agency,
CIA,
organized crime,
CIA, the mafia, and Big Texas Oil. All three of them, right? All three of them.
Texas Oil. But at the helm of that plot, I still believe there's substantial.
And then there's LBJ at the helm of the plot. I mean, come on, dude. You had to pull in 4 different organizations to make your theory work. I see what I'm saying, but he's going to tell you that these files are going to be a lie.
Evidence against Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Lyndon Baines, I mean, the vice president.
All right, so that's his thing, right?
Tell
that's
me why.
How he makes his money.
I get that you believe that they have something to hide, that intelligence agencies have something to hide in this, and it certainly seems that way, and I don't deny that. That to me was what makes the most sense. But how is it that, I mean, Pompeo saying hold back 20%? Now we have, I mean, Trump has some very strong allies at the top of these agencies now, like the strongest.
I would explain it, Wolfram. It was an even swab for GSR, right? I'm not even sure if they look back then. Did they do that back then, right? Right. There's a lot of things they didn't do back then that they do now, but they couldn't do back then that they do now too, as well. Right. People need to keep that in mind when they're forming a belief system about things, right? What could they do back then? How were things handled back then? I think we're going to find from these files that there's a lot more going on. Hey, Boosh, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. I hope you're doing well out there and eating well. Boosh he eats some good stuff. He does. Yeah. So, good point, man. It's like, was he even swapped? So that would make him, his statement. Why wasn't it found on there? Well, here's your answer. Was he even swapped? Great response to that, Wolfram. Way to dig in right there. All right. So let's continue.
It's the best team he's ever had. And we still, I mean, you say that hopefully we get the rest, but we didn't get the rest this week. And I just wonder, I wonder if you ask Trump right now, why isn't it all out? What do you think he would say?
Well, there is a process, and there's a lot of stuff yet to be downloaded until we see the totality of it and have a chance to evaluate it. No particular conclusion, I think, can be reached. But in the case of Johnson or the CIA or the mob, for example, I try to look at motive, means, and opportunity. Lyndon Johnson was under intense investigation in 2 major scandals, the Bobby Baker scandal and the Billy Saul Estes scandal. Robert Kennedy, Sr., the Attorney General, had already told people that Johnson was being dropped from the 1964 ticket and that he would be prosecuted. So his motive.
Did he? Is that a true statement? How anybody go back that far and remember this? It's another one of those things you have to take his word on, right?
To move against Kennedy, his motive to persuade Kennedy to go to Texas, his insistence that the motorcade go through Dealey Plaza, total violation of the Secret Service protocols.
Again, do you see what he does? Do you see how this works? You have to take his word on all of this. And this is the stuff that he's selling in the book, right? So this is how his bias is set. His bias is set, and the bias he's putting out there, people who want to, well, that's Roger Stone. I'm gonna listen to him. He knows everything. He wrote a book on it, right? But he wanted the premise of his book to be true, right? So of course he's making the rounds. He's making the rounds. He's going to be a go-to guy on this because of it. And oh, really? Yeah. So here we go. Here's someone who's actually fired some old weapons and no powder burns, huh? Wow, it's not like a musket, huh? No powder burns. How about that? Well, again, like I'm just trying to do the anatomy of a bias, the anatomy of a grift, the anatomy of someone selling a narrative, right? That's what we're taking down into it. People can form their own opinions about whatever, that's fine. What I like to do is dig into how things happen in the world, and it's more like the psychological realm of things, like just watching and listening and breaking things down piece by piece, just to deconstructing the narratives, right? That's kind of what you get here. That's the value I bring to the table for you. And then we can decide in the end, like I said to anybody who's just joining, we're working on our own database for this, where all these documents will be accessible in a way to everybody so that you can ask at anything, right? That's the work going in, and that's going to be the win. That's going to be for the win right there. And that way you don't have to listen to people like Roger Stone or Jerky McJerkison here on, his little guy on the left here that came out with his own kind of like statements about the way things are versus in his own opinion about it as fact, right? But let's let him continue.
Extraordinarily suspicious. The problem here has always been the same. The House the House Select Committee on Assassinations.
Well, not only that, Boosh, but I saw you made coming after this. He also said that it was the CIA, the mafia, Big Texas Oil, and Lyndon B. Johnson. They took 4 different groups to pull this off. 4 different groups. Yeah, hey, don't worry, you'll love this, Arlene. I'm degrifting his shit. So if you don't like him, then you get to see me tear apart what he's saying. But the only reason I'm bringing this up is because, and this is the only time I have him. So we got about another less than a minute left. Yeah, conspiracies do need to be small. Yeah. Or they just need to be out, like they need cover, right? Like a face of virtue, right? That's a good cover for a conspiracy. So you put out a face over top of it, right? And you can have people operating under an assumption, but underneath at the highest level, that's where the real corruption is going. Like USAID, right? Oh, it's for aid, it's for doing this, it's for doing that. Meanwhile, money laundering, things like that. But anyways, yeah, the U.S. Department of Education is another conspiracy type organization where, it's supposed to be for the kids and to raise education, but yet somehow we've completely destroyed it. And they launched things like Common Core with a truly a curriculum that's been seen in communist countries before, a demoralizing type of educational process that really does some destructive things. People have been pushed back against Common Core forever. That came out of the Federal Department of Education. And what's the purpose of that? Was that to help kids, or was that to hurt our future generations, their ability to reason and their ability to compete in the world as perhaps a means of control? There's something. So why would you introduce something that was that people that were in communist countries? So this is exactly, I think the lady was in China. This is exactly what was in China years ago. Why would you put something like that into American education if not to subdue them, right? That's something that would have to be dug into more. However, that's what I'm talking about, like the face of virtue, right? Like we're doing it for the right reasons, but really it's a destructive thing that's going on underneath of it. Gender theory is another good example of that. Critical theory. These are Marxist mechanisms, tools. Hang on a second. And these are obviously put out there to divide and demoralize our country, divide and demoralize. So that is what we're looking at here. But let's get through this guy. Stop blaming Stone's blaming LBJ, like name and Democrat decry Trump. Both are biased. Yeah. Didn't we find out more about Oswald and JFK on Quantum Leap than we are hearing from them? I don't remember that episode.
Like 1970s, reached a conclusion that organized crime was deeply involved in the murder of Kennedy. That is completely inconsistent with the findings of the Warren Commission. It depends on the prism from which you see this. I still believe at the end of the day, yes, the Central Intelligence Agency has motive. Kennedy's bungling, in their view, of the Bay of Pigs invasion, his bungling of the Cuban Missile Crisis. It took us 50 years to learn that there was a secret deal made to remove our missiles from Turkey and Italy in return for an agreement to remove the Cuban, or I should say the Russian missiles.
Soviet missiles from Cuba. You know, everybody.
That was it. Okay. So first one down. So yeah, so you know, later on he comes out and says that that Nixon stated, and I thought it would be in that report, but I won't torch you with another one. That Nixon stated that the Warren Commission report was the biggest hoax he'd ever seen. You know, that's another Stone statement that's out there. And you can find it. But yeah, so that discredits all the files. So don't listen to the files, read his book. All right, but that's one set of bias confirmation that's out there. And his bias is towards that whole narrative. And where might some people who believe that narrative get their ideas from? Roger Stone. He put the book out. He put the book out a long time ago. And then people have repeated it and repeated and repeated and repeated and repeated the narrative that he put out in the book. So where does that narrative come from? Probably Roger Stone originally. I put it all together, you know, in this weird kind of way. It's kind of like he reminds me of like a dark crystal creature, like one of those dark crystal creatures that are out there. I'm sure he's a real nice guy in person, probably has a million stories. You can't believe any of them, but he's probably very entertaining, very entertaining. Hey Tammy, how you doing? Welcome to the show. How's it going? Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. So up to bat next. Believe it or not, a lot of these are real short. I'm just kind of going through the anatomy and the approaches of different things. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of these, but I got a amount. And then I want to get to the Oswald, what it looks like right now. And that's kind of like the thing that, like I said, not knowing this going in, but still, it seems to be the real motive of Oswald and why that makes more sense than anything people like Roger Stone are saying. So we're going to get to that after we get through these. This is about 5, and I'm not going to go through all of them.
In my mind, I'm like, what does the CIA do?
The military and
Okay, so I'm just giving examples here. So we're not going to go through full videos or anything like that. It's not going to be like an hour worth of this shit. It's going to be like, let me just bring something up and let's talk about it. And like I said, just walk it in, man. We're going to walk this in. We're going to walk all this stuff in. And then in the end, we'll make careful decisions about it. And we'll as we're going, we're going to see people putting their foot in their mouth a lot when it comes to these files, because they want things to be true. They want the grassy knoll. They want the second shooter. Some people want the guy and the limo driver to be the guy, right? And they're going to fight for that. And that's a problem when people are fighting to be right instead of fighting to learn the truth and being able to change their mind in the face of new information. Very important stuff.
There's a bombshell in these stories. And the emerging story is the CIA surveillance, manipulation, and use of Lee Harvey Oswald for intelligence purposes while President Kennedy was still alive. Now,
surveillance, I see that. Manipulation, haven't seen that in the files. And he's gonna sit here and he's gonna kind of like defend. What he's gonna do is he's gonna kind of like barricade that idea. Watch.
There's not one document that shows this,
but there's not one out there of the thousands and thousands, right? That's going to do it. But if I take a little bit from here and a little bit from this and put my own spin on it, then it'll work, right?
But there's about 9 Angleton documents that became public yesterday, and if you read those documents in conjunction with Lee Harvey Oswald's CIA file and documents released in recent years, you see this pattern of malfeasance around CIA operations around Oswald that have never been explained.
All right, let me stop you. Who is James Angleton?
Say that again?
Who is James Angleton?
James Angleton. He was the counterintelligence chief of the CIA, and his testimony emerged yesterday. He testified to congressional authorities in the 1970s to a couple of committees in closed door testimony. So this executive session testimony has become public for the first time.
What did
does it
he
tell
say?
us?
What
Well,
exactly did he say?
Documents. I missed your question.
What did Angleton say to the committee?
What Angleton said to the committee was that he had relied on Israeli emigres to build his own intelligence empire. And one of the people who he deployed to monitor and surveil Oswald was probably one of these Israeli agents. It's not clear yet, but it seems like the evidence in this new testimony strongly suggests that Angleton recruited Oswald as a source or a contact. It's indisputable that he kept him.
It suggests that. What does that mean?
Under surveillance.
That means that you can play jazz. It means you can play jazz with that. Get out your saxophone.
For 4 years, from 1959 to 1963. These new documents point to an Israeli connection using Israeli agents
Israel.
to monitor Oswald. You know, Bill, Angleton had 180 pages on Lee Harvey Oswald on his desk a week before Kennedy went to Dallas. That fact alone has only emerged in recent years.
Yeah, and we can see that they were watching him because of his communist activities. He drew attention to himself by defecting during the Cold War to the Soviet Union. Do you think that might draw attention to somebody? Do you think that might draw attention? You remember how much attention got drawn to people who were converting to Islam and trying to, you know, during the Middle East crisis or whatever? It's always a Middle East crisis, right? The Middle East wars of our time, right? All these people are like wanted to go join Al Qaeda. You think that put them on a list? You think that made them a person of interest for it better have. And during the Cold War, these are the old school intelligence agents that were actually trying to stop communist subversion and Marxists, that they were actually highly against it, as opposed to the people who took their place and who led it on in, right? Who participated and maybe enabled it in a lot of ways. Again, we've done a lot of research on this topic here, and just in reading the book Big Intel by Jim Ankle Waller, he was there. He's a top counterintelligence agent, intelligence expert in the frickin' country, if not the world, right now, on these topics. He talks about that book is highly enlightening. You know, we know the type of mechanisms that were being put in place and the methodologies that were being used to demoralize, destabilize, and bring our country to crisis during these times, and how they persisted since, and why now. Right? So this isn't new stuff for us. Like, this is the crew that's done the research on this shit. So yeah, I hope to God he had a 180-page file on a defector who then came back to the United States. I mean, don't you? Isn't that what they should be doing? So it's not like you think there were other people out there like him and they had 180 pages on them too. Like I'm just like, you know, wow, this one guy, it's very suspicious. Very suspicious.
Received no news coverage and is really an extraordinarily important part of the story. Yeah. What the new documents raise is, was the CIA atrociously incompetent when it came to the alleged lone gunman? Or was Angleton actually running a counterintelligence operation involving him? Okay. And I believe it's the latter.
Thank you for watching.
Right. Okay. And that's another great point right there. After seeing how little can be on a page, 180 pages doesn't seem like a lot, right? Where's your cover page, your table of contents, and your bibliography, right? Don't forget those. Don't forget those, and don't forget to listen to that Whoopie News he's talking about. I'm so happy you guys are here on a winning Friday. We're winning tonight on Friday edition. We're just doing things like this. I figure we get to this first, and then we'll do top news and other stuff at the end. I was going to do it up front, but then I was like, well, I don't know. We'll see. Wait, go back. Okay. Let's go back down here. Whoa, that's the press conference page. I don't want that. I want this one. All right, so I just threw some random examples in here. Let's go to, I'm gonna move this one up, and I want to see there's one in here I haven't looked at that I want to like research. It's a longer one, but it's two guys that have, all right, you get the top if you want. Two guys that have spent a lot of time in their life talking about this exact topic. It's a very much a passion, and I've listened to them. They actually, I actually sent them a message one time about there was a point recently that the driver theory reemerged again, right? Somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody, I think it was JP Sears that actually came out and had listened to somebody else's take on the idea that the second shooter was the limo driver, and he kind of had bought into it a little bit. So I went to these guys, and I knew it wasn't true, but I put it out there, and they laughed about it. And then I took that clip, and gave it back to JP Sears. Never heard from the guy. Guess he didn't think it was funny. I don't know, but I was just trying to keep him from sounding stupid. It's hard to tell if he's making a joke or not, but I don't think he was that day. That was on a serious stream. All right, so this lady, oh my God. Okay, so guys, get on your extreme bias hats. All right, we're going to go listen to somebody who's extremely biased in this take, right? And listen to the way they cope with what they got, and listen to the way they defend their bias. They're not getting the bias confirmation they want, and they really show a good use case of how people react when their bias isn't being confirmed, and how they cope with it, and how they try to redirect, right? So let's take a look at this. Yeah, we are all set. We won't go through the whole
Hi,
thing.
everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Maureen Cal.
I can't go. Don't worry, we won't go through all 16 minutes of this. I doubt it. I can barely take this. Her guest. This one's all right. I mean, she's just reporting. But the guest. Oh God. Let's just light her up, man. Let's have some fun just destroying this guest, man, because that'll make it bearable.
Callahan, columnist with dailymail.com. Maureen, thanks so much for coming back on.
Hi.
Thanks so much for having me, Brittany.
After a much anticipated promise, thousands of documents related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy were released by the Trump administration.
The other one.
What do you make of the document dump? Anything surprise you?
Well, so it was 80,000 pages, and that's not all of them, despite the promise that we were going to see all of them. I actually wasn't quite surprised. It felt like a very passive aggressive, our hand has been forced news dump, because
it's very passive aggressive, and it smelled of Nazism.
None of these documents were organized in any comprehensive way whatsoever. So there was
and you expect I need my organization. Yeah, they said go do it, right? Here's the files you wanted to go do it. It wasn't. It was that makes it passive aggressive, because it wasn't done the way that she wants it. Wouldn't you love to live with this woman?
There's no prioritizing. There was no categorization, such as here are witness statements, here are images, here is the autopsy report, which, by the way, the Navy pathologist who oversaw the autopsy of JFK the night after the autopsy took all of those reports home and burned them in his fireplace. So seeing the sort of...
Is that true? Is that true, or did you just make that up? We have to take that on her word, don't we? Did the autopsy guy really go and burn shit in his fireplace? How did you know it was his fireplace? Were you there? Huh? Were you there? What's up with those glasses? They're weird. Looks like she got some kind of Egyptian shit going on here in the corners. I don't know. Is this these? They're not smart glasses, because she ain't smart. But yeah, they never have been organized in a comprehensive way to begin with. Thank you, Heidi, for pointing out the obvious, the thing that she should have known and didn't get. Oh, well, they didn't do it for me. It must be passive aggressive.
Lack of meat on the bone.
Lack of meat on the bone.
But this document dump is quite bracing, and
okay, she's saying this from her biases in a couple different places here. One, you can tell she does not like the Trump administration at all, right? Can you already tell that, guys? So she's already going to be out there trashing it, right? And this is going to be hitting the ears of many first bailers, and the ears and eyes of very many first bailers, as it is on Forbes. So it crosses, the Forbes can cross the line, right? But yeah, so she's like, she didn't read all these documents. She hasn't seen shit. How did she get through so many documents already when other people have it, right? Oh, there's no meat on the bone. What kind of meat do you want, lady? What kind of meat do you want?
And upsetting, frankly.
And I want to read one of the.
Oh, and she's upset. It's passive aggressive. There's not enough meat on the bone for her, right? And she's just
first lines of your column in dailymail.com. You wrote this: the JFK files apparently say nothing, and that says everything. What do you think that says? That we're not getting any bombshells, any of the things we were looking for just yet.
I think it says to us that they're never coming. I think it says to us that the top spies at America's alphabet agencies, who may or may not have been involved in this, wink, wink, would never have put in writing their plans. They would never have memorialized.
So she's already made up her mind about things, wink, wink, didn't she? Is that the wink was that the wink was about? Wink, 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 wink. But she can't substantiate her claims. Where did she get the story from? Where did she get the story? Where did she form her belief system about this? Who got in there? Who got in there and set the standard for her belief system? Who put the foundation down, laid the foundation down for her? She's got all kinds of things. There's files being burned in a fireplace. May or may not. I don't know how we know that's true. Why would a coroner go burn files? I'm burning them. Like, that makes the second shooter theory sound pretty good, right? Well, we got to burn them because we can't, right away that same day. He already knew what the game was going to be. Got to take it on faith. You got your checklist. Check how many times these people ask you to take something on faith. They show you no evidence. It's an opinion, almost an opinion statement, but it's, hearsay statements, almost always hearsay statements, right? Second, third, fourth hand information. Where did she form her bias from? Here she is on Forbes, getting the big platform, right? Getting the big platform. And she's a columnist at the Daily Mail too. So she's doing this on a daily basis. Isn't it great to know that someone like this is influencing people, helping them set their worldview? And let me go through this one more time. Let's see.
Wink. Would
Wink,
never
wink.
have put in writing their plans. They would never have memorialized a successful.
So you think that these files are about people putting their plans? Like okay, well, look, guys, just put your plans in this big old file for us, okay? Put the plans in there. Is that what the files are about? Are they about, we're supposed to be seeing, they're never going to put their plans in the files. Really? What you're supposed to do is take a look at what they're doing, right? And see what pictures form from it, which we're going to take a look at next when it comes to Oswald, right? His words, his actions, his associations, analysis on that as to his real motive, regardless of anything that may come out later on. What his personal motive was, right? To even be in a situation where he could potentially do this, right? Or, and definitely, there's, that's the person they caught. So, that's the person who got killed for it. Let's see. Nah, she has a cuckold husband for sure. Yeah, he sits in that chair and cries when she's getting bent over this table. Yeah, that's the crying chair back there. How do you have a conspiracy about correspondence, right? Oliver Stone. Let's see. Maybe Oswald. Yeah, right. I mean, that's the one thing nobody wants to believe, right? How did he do this, right? He was a Marine, right? They said he was a terrible shot. Who said it? Where's your proof that someone said he was a terrible shot? Or, maybe it wasn't good enough for them. Maybe it wasn't good enough for the KGB or the Soviets when he defected, because they said that even they were, they said nah, they passed on him. He was too unhinged. Well, unhinged is the perfect recipe to go out and do something like a Ryan Ruth would do, right? Hide for days with cell phones and plotting to take a shot on a golf course at a would-be president who doesn't align with his foreign policy goals, right? This cuck for Ukraine guy, Ryan Ruth. I tell you what, the more I look at this, the more I keep comparing. There's people out there that want to compare Oswald to Crooks because Oswald got the shot off, right? And they don't have shit on Crooks, but Ryan, the Ryan Ruth story, the second assassin for Trump, that one right there, it's got everything you need. And the comparison between him, ideologically driven, foreign policy driven, right? Taking things into his own hands. He seems to me like he's way more the Oswald type, right? Outspoken, action oriented. Crooks was like this little, this kid who was all boxed into his little world, right? We don't know much about him. We probably won't because parents aren't talking. But at least not at this point. Maybe 10 years down the road, maybe on their deathbed. I don't know. They seem like they just want to be left alone. They're highly embarrassed by what happened. They just want to be left alone. So we'll figure out if there's ever anything that relates to the Crooks thing. I don't think his apps or anything like that have anything to do with it. Oh, you gotta help. He's they keep wanting to draw these comparisons. Oh, he was at a gun range and there were Department of Homeland Security guys training there. Well, they train everywhere. There's Department of Homeland Security people everywhere and they train everywhere. So not a big deal. But they are on different days. Oh, but they could have left them a secret message in the bullet. I don't know. It's fucking stupid. Right? I don't buy into this bullshit. I want to live in the truth, right? Not in some fantasy. I wish I did. If I was living in fantasy, I could sell you guys a bunch of bullshit and make a bunch of money, right? But I can't do that. I can't do that. I'd rather wait to make it the right way, whatever comes my way. I'd rather do it the right way. Maybe one day there'll be a market for truth, real truth, not bullshit truth like these people try to push. But anyways, let's get back to this creature over here. She just got through saying that wink wink, and they're never gonna put their plans out, the files, duh. But you're going to be surprised at what they actually do put in the files and what they talk about and their methodologies in tracking down communism and Marxist infiltration. And by the way, the biggest file is 3,000 pages so far that Shelley has found. These are PDF files that she's found in her. She's right now she's putting a database together. That's why she's not here. So our database is going to be complete. And we're going to be able to ask in a confined, guarded space, research these files for real, right? With no bias. So if you're hearing this, if you happen to just click in, if you're interested in this topic, that's the way we're going to do it here. It may take us some time to get it done, but we're going to do it the right way. Okay. And so maybe this will become the source for people that out there that really want to know the truth can go and find the truth on this. And if we can do this right, I'll do this for all the rest of them. So this could be the thing. Maybe this is the way to do it now, right? We'll just figure out a great method for putting things like this together and let people get away from bias, influence, right? Like Stone and like this woman and like other people that got an agenda and a profit-driven motive to sell their narratives. I'd rather just give you an opportunity to find out on your own by asking your own questions, teach you to be the investigator, teach you to question the void. That's what it's all about. And if we can hand that down, that'd be a beautiful thing. But I just was informed that the biggest file so far has 3,000 pages in it. That's one PDF file, like we went through the other night, has 3,000 pages in it. Most are around 200 to 400 pages. Like that's what we're finding right now. So the idea that all the files aren't out just because you see a number on a thing, that might not be accurate. We might find the deeper that we go into these things, the more pages that there are. And I can tell you right now that the files I got from T-Rex that were the bulk files that we have to break apart, that got all the files downloaded. Some of those pages most of those pages are in the thousands and thousands and thousands, right? So I think I got there was 5. I think I got 3 out of 5 from him. And the first one was like 3,000 some pages, right? So we're taking a look at that right now. I'll keep you posted on that as I get updates. But that's what we're doing. And that's what's going to separate what we're doing here on this end of it from everybody else. So I hope you guys will stay tuned and come back for it. And I'll probably just put we'll make it into a series or something like that. We'll probably just move this over to Unveiling Reality at some point and make a JFK series. And we'll start with that. Once I get it done, we'll do it. And by the way, that means we're going to take the weekend off and work on it. So we won't have a winning Saturday night tomorrow night. We'll be working on doing this stuff. That's what we're going to do, man. I found some hilarious stuff in the file so far. Did you? If you want to send me direct pages or direct links to pages and the PDF pages, maybe later in the show, I could probably get to those. All right, let's finish up with this piece of work right here.
Execution of a sitting U.S. president on U.S. soil. There's no there. And this is, I feel, is my own feeling.
Yeah.
It feels like the ultimate FU to an American public.
Do you hear what this woman just said? She just wants to get that Trump derangement syndrome in so bad. So bad. She has to get it in there. It's the biggest FU to everybody. What the files are the files. Well, they weren't organized or passive aggressive. They weren't done the way I wanted them done. They're not, there's no meat on the bone for me. People are so transparent, man. They're so transparent. Especially this lady. So no, just the biggest FU. Trump hates you. He hates you. He's gonna come on, freak out for me, baby. Freak out.
That has been very patiently waiting, loathed these many decades for some sort of answer, because nobody, not even Jackie, not even Bobby Kennedy,
poor
not
Jackie
John
and
Connolly,
Bobby.
the Texas governor who was sitting in front of JFK when he was shot,
Not the Texas
ever
governor.
believed the Warren Commission's finding that it was a lone gunman.
I want to talk about just
And because the files that have been on file for all these years that the Trump administration had nothing to do with, didn't say what all these people wanted it to say, or you wanted it to say, that's a big FU. That's a big FU. Do you see how she did that? She's looking deranged Danny on, right? She's like some kind of like Targaryen reject. I mean, dude, do you see what I'm saying? It's like people are, and where is she at? She's on Forbes News, man. She got platforms. She's on date. She writes stuff every day. It influences people with her little tactics, right? Her little tactical language. I got a weather alert. Fire. What the hell? Fire. I never seen fire. It's fire. There's a fire alert. I was like, fire weather warning. Ooh, fun.
some of those theories that have really become popularized in recent
It might
years.
fire tonight.
Because
I got a fire weather alert. It might fire tonight. There might be fire. Oh shit. There might be fire. It might fire tonight. Oh, gosh. We're getting so much rain lately. It'd be a nice change of pace to get some fire. This stupid shit.
Gallup poll from 2023 found that 65% of Americans think that there is some theory involving the Kennedy assassination. There is a conspiracy there.
Yeah, no. Where would they ever get that idea from, right? Where would they ever figure that out from?
Did any of these documents answer any of these popular questions? Was the government involved? Was the what motivation did Lee Harvey Oswald have? Also, the most popular theory, was there a second shooter?
Motivation. We're going to talk about motivation here in a minute. I got
Right.
the motivation breakdown.
So,
for you.
here's one thing. It's again, as I said, 80,000 pages.
Has she got a picture of herself on the wall? Is this her? Yeah, look, it's a picture of me.
Without categorization, without being prioritized in any manner. So newsrooms are still trying to digest.
Oh, so you don't have any real answers. Okay, I get you. You don't have any real answers. You're just talking out of your ass, which is probably like the Lincoln Tunnel.
Massive document. You would think that whoever is working in whatever department was in charge, the National Archives,
You would think
in charge of getting the stump ready, which Trump said he was going to do.
Oh yeah, I know. And so did Bonnie. Like, well, this is supposed to be put out a long time ago, right? Why didn't the Biden administration get it done? Huh?
Would have done so in a better manner.
We would have done it better, right?
I don't think we're ever going to. We still don't know what Lee Harvey Oswald's motivation was. Jack Ruby's motivation for shooting Lee Harvey Oswald while he was in police custody on live television. Okay, this was the most high.
Okay, here's what she's gonna. She just put out a premise, right? She led us from one thing to the next. She said, Oh, and Jack Ruby's motivation for killing him, right? Which we went over the other night. Very simple. It's like the very last page of the fucking files is the Jack Ruby shit. All right. It's literally the last part of it. Jack Ruby shit. Literally breaks down why he did that. In a state of shock, highly patriotic, anti-communist guy, right? Returning the favor. Oh no, but we don't know his real motivation. You just don't want to accept the motivation that's obvious. You want it to be what you want it to be, like the way you want the files organized, the way you want them organized, right? The files that were never organized to begin with, right? You want things the way you want them, and because you're goddamn whatever your name is, Maureen Targaryen, queen of shit, right? You want things your way. You're a bossy bitch. That's what it is, right?
I value suspect the federal government had in its custody.
Oh my God. They couldn't make the files better. They couldn't make them better.
He was just left wide open for yet another assassin to shoot him. Like, none of it adds up. And when you get to the point where in the 1990s,
it doesn't add up that a guy that's pissed off at the dude who shot the president he probably loved, like, this could have played out. This could have played out the same way again. Of course, we're a lot more careful now, right? But imagine if Ryan Ruth had gotten the shot off, or crooks had gotten the shot off and got away, or gotten caught. Like, they didn't take him out right away, right? He got caught. And then he's on his way to court. And here comes a Trump supporter who realizes that the establishment is just taking out their greatest enemy, and we may never recover from this. Or at least that's the feeling at the time. And that this dude was responsible for it. This useful idiot did it. And he said, in their mind, in a state of shock, they have convinced themselves that this is the only righteous form of justice, is to take this dude out, right? Maybe these days, because of people like Jack Ruby, people wouldn't react that way. They want to get the answers. We realized that by taking Oswald out, we missed out on a lot of information, right? The guy who knew exactly why he did it never had a chance to tell anybody, right? And unlike these days, like, he didn't really leave a manifesto. He just left a trail of behavior, which we're going to go over here in just a minute. And that's going to draw us the real picture of Oswald. But this lady trying to bring Ruby into it, come on, dude. Ruby was a distraught guy who probably did it for his wife and kids, and it was just like a real patriotic dude who was in shock. And that's what the FBI reports on him said, right? What happened to Jack Ruby? Did Jack Ruby ever talk about it? I don't know.
Seinfeld does an entire episode.
Oh, of course. Now, well, Seinfeld does it, then it must be true.
Parodying the notion that there wasn't a second shooter on the grassy knoll.
Yeah, Seinfeld parodied it, and did a parody of it. Then that makes it true that there was a second shooter, because Seinfeld said so.
Who can forget, right? Back into the left. Back into the left. You've gone through the looking glass.
Yeah, Seinfeld did it. It must be true. That guy's
Kennedy.
like base as hell,
wrote
right?
a book, Ask Not the Kennedys and the Women They Destroyed. As someone who is an expert on everything,
That's
in
the
this
way
family,
people do it that
what
are
do you
trying
think
to
is
confirm
missing
the
from
bias,
the conversation when it comes to these
trying
documents, when it comes to these theories,
cope.
when it comes to the public wanting
The
to learn more about
magic
what happened?
buoy.
Yep. I don't know. So Bobby Kennedy Jr., I am not a fan, but he has said he believes the CIA was responsible for his uncle's death and that they were involved in the subsequent cover-up.
That probably is true. He probably did say that. I think I'm but he was a kid at the time, right? He's been told a lot of things too, and he hasn't had any way to settle this. Now, let's see. That's the one person I'm very interested in finding out what they think of these files, and I'm sure he's carefully coming through them himself before he speaks, because he has a lot else to do, right? So he's probably doing that as well. Kind of a distracting time to drop files about your uncle's assassination, right when you're taking office and being the health secretary. So I hope that Bobby or Mr. Secretary has his priorities straight. I understand this is very distracting for him, but I believe from what I've seen of Bobby Kennedy, our Bobby Kennedy, that he will have the ability to change his position in the face of new information. He may find that there's not enough in there. I don't know, but he may have some, having been around it in conversations, privy to conversations, adult conversations as a kid, a lot of things. He may have a lot. I would listen to his take more than anything else as someone directly affected by this. And, and see how he deals with the information versus the narrative he grew up with, the ones that from the people around him, and so on. He hasn't had a lot to go in all these years. He wasn't there. He was young when this happened. So I don't think injecting him into this and saying, well, because he suspects foul play all these years, now it means there has to be, and this isn't proving it. So I'm going to sit on here and dog the Trump administration for it.
Jackie always kept her mouth shut about it. Robert F. Kennedy Sr. himself, assassinated in 1968, always kept his mouth shut about it, even though he didn't believe it. As I said in my column from yesterday, John Connally, Jackie Kennedy, and Bobby Kennedy all had the exact same reaction, which was to use the plural. They. I want to Jackie said, let them see what they have done. I'm not changing out of my suit. John Connally, oh my God, they are going to kill us all. Bobby, I always knew they would get one of us. I thought.
Okay, they could be communists. They could be Marxists. They can be some weirdo transgender person. I don't know. They can be a lot of things. They always say that, don't they?
Thought it would be me. So that's like within minutes, an hour maybe. Nobody believed some rogue loser gunman from a 6th floor depository was able to get off those kill shots. Nobody.
Have you read his background? I don't know. That's the whole thing, is they questioned that, oh, he's a rogue loser. Well, hold on, I thought he was working with the intelligence agencies and the mafia and big Texas Oil and shit. I thought he was like the guy they picked to get the job done. Right? Suddenly that's not it. And see, this is a departure from the there's so many different narratives that people have about this thing, right? And so she's departing from this, right? Oh, he's the patsy. Why would they pick him patsy? Because he's a rogue loser. Well, the rogue loser defected to the yeah. I mean, these are true facts. It doesn't mean they couldn't have done it. People would call Crooks a rogue loser. He got the top of Trump's ear. Ryan Ruth, rogue loser. One incompetent Secret Service agent away from getting a shot off on Trump. Perhaps a good shot. I don't know that. I think his choice of weapon would have had to get kind of close, but makeshift scope on a AK, whatever. Hey, Hammer, hard member, what's up? How you doing? Good to see you. Those guys are both rogue and loser. They both almost got a shot in. I mean, one did. One took the top of his ear, went through the top of his ear. That's how close a rogue loser got. So don't discount the efforts of a rogue loser and what they're capable of doing. They got all the time in the world to do it.
From your research, then, why would they not be more fervent in speaking out, saying, I thought it was more than one? People are saying, whatever the Warren Commission found, I didn't really believe. Is it because it was such a traumatic event? Is it because assassinations were pretty popular in the 60s? I mean, what does that look like?
Well, it's, I've thought a lot about this. I think for someone like Jackie,
I doubt
there
it.
was only so far psychologically she could go. She had 2 children to raise. She was negotiating her own PTSD, which she suffered greatly from for her entire life. I think to acknowledge.
You think that you might have some PTSD?
Knowledge that it could have been a shadow conspiracy within the.
Oh, it's a shadow conspiracy now.
Federal government would have been a little too much. Bobby perhaps for similar psychological reasons, thought initially it had to be the mob because they were in the crosshairs of his DOJ. The Kennedy family had a lot of deep connections with the mob.
Okay, so initial reactions, he's already changed his mind once about things, right?
Yeah, they helped buy JFK the presidency in the 1960s. And you have to wonder, like,
they did? They helped buy him? Look at this
how
bid.
you
They helped buy him, the one of the most popular presidents, regardless of party, in American history. And they helped buy him the presidency. That's what she just said. So yeah. I know this is again, I'm going to cut this, but this is her, right? This is a person influencing other people who has a bias about the situation here, right? That it's out there, instead of trying to bring the truth to people, who is selling her bias and her hatred toward the Trump administration instead. So that's the kind of things that are out there. This is the fog of spin, right? This is a term I manufactured there with the fog of war, right? The files out there right now, because they say, when a war first starts, the fog of war, right? Beware the fog of war. Hang on a second. The fog of war, right? So all this stuff that's coming out at first, kind of like it's all a big mess, right? Beware the fog of war. It's always coming out, people coming out with their takes. A lot of it's not true. So I just kind of made a play on that, because that's what I was finding, right? Across the board, there's these people that, like her, like Stone, like others, like this other guy that, Jefferson Morley, right? The guy we just looked at, that are on it. Now I want to, that are doing it, right? They're doing it. Now I want to take a real quick, I'm wondering if I even need to play this one. Okay, so let me do this. This will be a good
In my
video.
mind, I'm like, what does the CIA do?
All right, so I want to take somebody that has a really kind of generally a based approach about things, right? And examine their reaction to this. This is a guy that I often highlight his content on my channel. And by the way, let me just turn out to the crowd here. Yeah, Yorick and her husband's not her. Yeah, I make him sit there and cry. All right, that's his cry chair. And then he gets his cry corner when I use the chair. With my bull rams me from the chair. All right, so enough of that. It's turning into a different stream now. That is of course that last lady and her cuckoldy husband, as Bush is putting out, that we're talking about. Cuckold husband. Yeah, do you think she's even married? She got a picture of herself on the wall. I've got a picture of myself here. It's a drawing I made myself of me. How beautiful. No black lights, please. Right? Yeah, no, keep the black lights off in that room. Ugh. All right. So I feature his content a lot here. I was interested in his reaction. And I want to see what he has to say about this. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I just wanted to show you how basically how what his thoughts are on this. So let's put it right there.
To understand the true conflict here, I need deeper. I'm not going to say my but to understand the
Adam Tatum, my thoughts.
I'm not going to say my staff prepared me very well, but to understand the true conflict here, I need to study this a little bit more. It wouldn't surprise me that the CIA would take out somebody like JFK. It wouldn't surprise me that the CIA would take out somebody like Martin Luther King. The question is, once we get through all of these files and get to the bare bones of what's really going on, because I'm one of those people that do not want to be a conspiracy theorist. I know there's people that are saying Israel has something to do with it. There's people that are saying the CIA has something to do with it. Obviously, RFK believes that the CIA killed him because he wasn't operating under the military-industrial complex, and they couldn't control him, and they wanted to do their bidding across the world and create world power and control and all this other crazy stuff, and he was against it. So it would make sense for them to kill him, and then the next person in will just do everything they want them to do. I don't understand how the CIA works, right? I'm just being honest. Like, I think most Americans don't understand. I remember when I first thought about the CIA, and this is something I'm going to study. In my mind, I'm like, what does the CIA actually do? And it's this theology that the CIA is running its own rogue operations to where they could have combatants or people who are militarized that can actually kill American citizens, go across other countries and kill people and start wars and do all kind of stuff. And then it posed a question in my mind, well, how's the CIA a part of the executive branch, which I think that they are, but allegedly not controlled by the executive branch, meaning that they operate under their own volition, meaning that the president has no say in it and don't know what they're doing. That's what I'm under the impression that that's what it is. How does that happen? And how has it been happening so far? How does the CIA how does the government kill somebody in the government and the government not know about it? This is why I'm saying this. I'm questioning, how does this really work? Because Donald Trump was in office for 4 years. How did, in 4 years of Donald Trump being in office in 2016, that we don't have any valid information about how the CIA was killing our own people? And we just now going to release it now, but there's no unequivocal statements that that's what it is and that we have unequivocal evidence. So it's very confusing to me. I got to do some deep dive and research or bring somebody on that understand this a lot more than me. But I'm just as curious as some of you guys about this.
And I think
more than 60 years, John F. Kennedy's assassination has sparked
CBS
intrigue,
News.
Speculation, and plenty of conspiracy theories.
I was a fifth grader at the time.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central.
But I like Tatum's approach, right? He's saying it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me, right? He says, but I got to do more research. He goes, I want to make sure that I got my facts straight. That's a based approach. Even if you already are leaning a certain way, revet. Now is the perfect time to revet, right? In just a minute coming up, we're going to be looking at what looks to be Oswald's real motive. I mean, based on his own actions, words, and associations, right? Outside of what people are going to try and make you believe, the root motivations, why he was even there in a place to even be considered in the first place, right? But before we do that, we have to do something very important. And gosh dang it, I forgot to set up the goal for tonight, didn't I? Oh, geez. It's not, oh my goodness gracious, bright lights everywhere. Where are we at? Let's just do 2 hours. I forgot to set it off. Okay, there we go. But thank you for reminding me. So there's always somebody really cool in the crowd that reminds me of things that I need to do. There you go. All right, remember, thank you for the $2 super chat. Make this world a better place for us and our kins. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do. And while our generations might be a muck in a world of untattered, unreined in information warfare, right? Subversion and everything alike. We can also always plan ahead as to how we solve this problem on a generational basis. And that has to do a lot with reintroducing logic and reason to our primary education, raising children, generationally speaking, that can resist subversion, resist grifts, that appreciate and embrace logic, logical premises. They reject and scorn fallacy. That would make a huge difference in this world so much. People who then work hard to dive into the truth, to never mislead others, will then be rewarded for their efforts. And people who do nothing but mislead others and do very little research, even though they can only do research, right, will not be able to be prosperous in this world. That would change things greatly, because then the establishment couldn't get over on people. Then grifters couldn't get over on people. And we'd have this really trusting kind of like open world, where people are like, well, I'm not going to get out of the line because, if I do, there'll be 100 people going, you're lying, you're drifting, you're trying to mislead me, you crook, right? Why can't you just actually put some work into what you're doing, put some thought into it, or just don't do it, right? If you can't manage to put that a little bit of effort into what you're doing. Yeah, man, I'll tell you, the other night, I've traditionally liked Alex Jones, and I do as a person. I mean, we're on the same side. We both the same way. We're on the same side. But the him having Greer on, I've done my researchers are bullshit. You didn't research fucking crap, dude. You just lied to everybody who supports your channel. You didn't research shit about this guy. He was full of fucking crap, But there you are platforming him, and it's the biggest disappointment. And you've let a lot of people down, and you have exposed yourself as someone who says he researches things but doesn't. So what does that say about the rest of the things that you talk about? I mean, that was the biggest boner he's ever pulled on himself, and then ever, I think the biggest mistake he's ever made in terms of platforming Greer and then back him up and saying this is good stuff. Anyways, that might rant on the side there. Maybe think about the fact that you need to put effort into what you do to be good at it, and you shouldn't mislead people and profit from it. You shouldn't be allowed to profit from misleading people, but shit, that's all people do these days, right? That's why that's why his channel has got millions and millions of people just shoveling money at him, every day, making him popular and getting him places and things, meanwhile, the people who say, hey, that ain't true. There's flip side back in the corner there. All right. So, let's see what the rest of this says.
Standard Time.
It's
Thank you,
news.
hard
Minnesota
number.
District Federal Judge John Thunheim says he first heard from his teacher.
I remember her saying that the president was shot, and then we really just sat there in silence.
In the 1990s, Thunheim served as former President Bill Clinton's chair of the Assassination Records Review Board. Thunheim had authority to review all records and decide what should be released related to Kennedy's assassination.
We released nearly everything. There were some redactions.
Thunheim says there are just under 4,000 documents with redactions at the National Archives. Most redactions were related to protecting methods of intelligence gathering. While Thunheim says more records have been uncovered since the 90s, in addition to 14,000 more recently found by the FBI, he says don't expect anything earth-shattering.
Anyone expecting that there's going to be a complete answer to what happened, evidence of a conspiracy, for example, I think people will be disappointed.
Thunheim says government transparency is important to regain trust, ever since information about JFK's death was initially hidden.
Both President Trump and President Biden said they were going to release everything. This information does need to be released, and released right away.
Is it, according to the rumors that I've heard about the CIA, is it impossible for the CIA to do this? No, I don't think it's impossible. I think that they could be killing people in America. But it's crazy that the government don't understand what they're doing. There's no evidence that they're doing it, and there's nobody to have oversight of what the CIA is doing. That's the perplexing, bizarre part of me. And the JFK situation, and there's 63 files that have been released thus far, 63,000 files that have been released thus far. Some people say there's millions of pages of documents.
Millions. Brent Favre.
So as they come out, I'm going to try to do my due diligence to be more informed about this, or have a guest on that knows more.
All right, thanks. You said that. All right. Thank you, Tatum. I just wanted to show you somebody who admittedly is I'm not, I could see that point of view, but I ain't committed to it, and I'm going to do more research on it. So good for him. I think once again, it's a decent example. And if we get things together the way I wanted to get together, I'll offer him what I got. So maybe I'll be that guy for him. If I can even reach him. Most of the time when I try to do things like that, I can't even reach people, but I'll try. So keeping Tatum in mind. All right. Where we at? 1:30. Okay, cool. Yeah, I did start a goal. It's only a 2-hour goal. All right. I'm not going to go on about, this and that. I know people I got to talk about it sometimes, but every night, if you want to contribute, thank you. I appreciate it. It's much appreciated, much needed. That's all I can say about it. So I appreciate everybody who comes here every night. That's contributing. I appreciate everybody who is a member on a monthly basis on any platform. Thank you so much. That's all of that. Some people get out and this is again difference between me and other people, I guess, and why I'm probably not very good at this. Is that people could get out every night and start pounding that send me money. There's some people out there that don't even answer questions in the crowd unless they get some money for it, right? And it has to be the right amount of money, right? There's literally people that are got that are freaking so pompous and so egoed out and so self-important that they won't answer a question from somebody unless the super chat's over $10, and that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But I'm not, like I said, maybe that's the way to be. They make a lot more money than I do, and they got a lot more followers and subscribers. Of course, they got a lot of help from somebody. Usually the way it goes, somebody helps somebody get a bunch of subscribers, and that's the way it happens. But yeah, but I've seen that. I've seen other people, and they're, they every night they're whining about their super chats, or they're whining about something, and it's like, I don't want to be that guy. It is what it is. You guys, if you're here, you know me, you know what it's about. And if you contribute, thank you. If you want to contribute, I appreciate it. There you go. All right, enough said about that. There's my one spot in the show where I'd say something. All right.
What are you trying to say? Oh, the stream was live.
I don't know where this starts and ends, but
This amount of paper, you've got a lot of reading. I don't believe we're going to redact anything. I said, just don't redact. You can't redact. Gabbard. And that's going to be released tomorrow.
All right. So this came out 3 hours ago. Let me make sure it's at the right speed. Okay. Sounded a tad bit slow. This is from American Untold Stories. This is their live stream. So we're not going to listen to this whole thing, man. I promise you that. This is just going to be, did I start the goal? Why is it still sitting there? Start it. Weird. Okay. I didn't start a goal. Or did I? Let me refresh this. So silly. There we go. All right. And we'll just make it for. Okay. All right. Okay. I didn't really start it, but there it is. All right. So, anyways, here we go. These guys have probably done more work and made more money. And I'm not trying to dog them for their shit, right? I'm just going to say the fact. They probably made, this JFK thing more of a primary focus on their successful channel than anything else I've seen them do. In fact, with that, OJ, other things, I like these guys, are interesting. I'm very interested in how they're reacting to these files. Hey, K Marshall, how you doing? I'm very interested to see how they react. Like, will they? So this is the one we're gonna watch, like Discovery together, right? Like, I don't know what they're gonna do. All right, thank you. I don't know what they're gonna do, and we'll see. I don't know what the reaction is gonna be, and I don't know why I'm not on the screen here, but I should be. There we go. All right, let's check it out. This is America Untold Stories with what's his name? Jack Huntley. I always forget the other guy's name. With Mark Gilbert and Eric Huntley, popular guys in the law tube scene here. Let's check it out.
Kennedy files. So people have been waiting for decades for this. And I've instructed my people that are responsible. Lots of different people put together by Tulsi Gabbard. And that's going to be released tomorrow. We have a tremendous amount of paper. You've got a lot of reading. I don't believe we're going to redact anything. I said, just don't redact. You can't redact. But we're going to be releasing the JFK files. And that would be tomorrow. Do you have anything else to add to that, Carolyn? So that's a big announcement. They've been waiting for that for decades. Then I said during the campaign, I'd do it.
Got it done.
I'm a man of my word. So tomorrow you have the JFK files. What time will they be released? Tomorrow afternoon. Okay.
Have you seen those guys are talking in the background.
I've heard about them.
What's the right?
It's going to be very interesting.
Was there an executive summary supplied to you, Mr. President?
No, I'm not doing summaries. You'll write your own summaries. It's many pages. Is it 80,000 pages? Approximately 80,000 pages. So it's a lot of stuff. And you'll make your own determination.
All right. And he did. We're running. Everything is crazy this week. That actually
Oh
came
my
out,
God. Mark put on his wife's glasses.
Monday. And then Tuesday, we are doing a show and saying, oh, geez, we don't see the stream. We don't see the files anywhere. I'm double speaking because for some reason the stream is not going to locals. So anybody who's on locals, it doesn't.
They're doing their intros here. I don't know where this
What else
starts.
is not broken in this year?
I don't know.
Everything is broken. We're just going to wing it out of our garage here. Cell phone. Hunley's got his own camera situation next door.
I don't want to bore people with this. But we're gonna get,
I got my own camera situation. Mark has his own.
I want to get to
camera
the
situation.
part where they talk about
we
it.
Are, yes, we're using the other end of Mark's purple cup. That's an old.
All right,
reference for those who don't
you've
know.
used cameras and they're online. The boomers have done it.
It is interesting times. Interesting times. Okay, so while we're doing the show on Tuesday, we are waiting for the documents to come out. When we were on locals, all of a sudden they actually did put up a lot of documents. So that took me by surprise. I think it took you by surprise a little bit too. I thought that they had just dumped it at the archivist and didn't know that they were actually going to have them online that day or any of them. And they did have 30,000 online right then. A few hours later, there was another 30,000 pages. It was like 1,000 documents and 30,000 pages. And then I think last night, 16,000 more pages were put up. So as of right now, I think you've dug through well over 700.
Probably 750, 800 pages. I mean, I can scan them because I don't have to read them all. I can see quickly what it's about, and move on as quickly as possible. I mean, it's kind of like they have made it intentionally or unintentionally the most difficult process ever devised in the 21st century because there's no subject, there's no search bar, there's no
another guy bitching about
the click, read. It's always been this way. So it's not like they did anything different. It's always been this way for decades. So it's nothing new. I'm kind of used to it, but
nothing new.
You can find groupings of subject matters despite the riff number. Some of them are in the same area consecutively. I mean, roughly the area of the subject. So you can kind of figure that's where you are for a long time based on repeated documents on that particular subject area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know. Or you can earn your money and do it
yourself. It's going to take months, as I keep saying to people.
Months.
In this era of instant gratification and AI and Grok and everything else. Maybe Eric can explain how long that would take if it was fed into the beast.
Next, I'm going to show you guys why some people are making huge mistakes with AI and how we're not going to do it. That's the final piece of this. I don't think that they're going to say anything.
Right now, it's click, read, click, read, click, read. On the National Archives website. But again,
anybody watch this and got a take on this?
Things are actually going to be better than they are at the moment, but you're still stuck with where you are at the moment. Now, as far as AI goes, I know Encryptus is working on an AI right now. He actually had been scraping the archives for about a month and a half before these dropped. And I know he's scraping now. However, I don't know. Have you heard of the term GIGO? G-I-G-O. That's garbage in, garbage out.
Oh, right.
One of the big problems that we are facing is the documents can be really hard to read. And when you're using OCR, which is, computer reading of the letters to pull it in, it's not going to be super accurate all the time. So it's going to pull in a lot of garbage words and characters and things like that, or misinterpret. So even getting massive things there, you might only get pieces in there, but as long as you have the document reference, there might be enough in a search pattern you can pull in and extrapolate connections and then just look at the original document.
They're going down the same
avenue. As I was saying this morning on Tim Pool, they would intentionally photocopy important documents repeatedly to blur them when they were ordered to.
Okay, so here's the one thing, right? I'm going to tell you this right now. Here's the one. They were on Tim Pool earlier. We're more succinct. Okay. Yeah, they're all the big players are gonna get their FaceTime now. That's true. But these guys have definitely put a lot of work into it. One thing that we're doing to avoid what he's talking about right there is already doing the categorization. That Eric was talking about the categorization that Mark was complaining about not being there. Other people are complaining about not being there. That's the way you organize a database, a data pool, right? For AI. You got to know how to do it right. So I don't know if their scraper guy understands that, or if they're going to even put that kind of effort into it. But if you have somebody that's a machine that can that want that in a weird way gets satisfaction from doing it on your team, then you can probably get that done. So we'll see how that works. But what I want to do is outdo this. So
turn them over to investigative bodies or a FOIA request.
Okay, so you're saying these? I think I'm going to cut this. You're saying these guys were on Pool earlier, and we're more. So, tell me what they meant. What's this talk? Tell me about it, Levy. Tell me about it. Tell me about what they were saying. I can look up the Pool interview with these guys, but again, I don't want to get into an hour where I'm hunting and pecking and trying to figure it out. because I want to move on to our next topic here and then wrap up with some top news. But if you want to throw some points out about that since you saw it, we'll just go with what you got to say. All right. My next
I want to talk to you a little bit about something that I found. I think it was yesterday.
Let me cue this up while I wait for a response there. This is another group that's trying to do kind of the same thing. They're in the LBJ camp did it. Interesting. Okay. That's the camp they've been in the entire time, right? So they love Roger Stone's take. They're down with that. Does their work precede or come after the Stone work? I wonder.
I saw something on X. Somebody, a friend of mine, sent this and said, "Wow, look at this! What's happening? What Grok is saying, is happening with the JFK files." And I read it, and
okay, first mistake. Grok does not have access to the JFK files. Not all of them. You have to actually put the links in and start a separate chat. Natively, it doesn't have access to them. You have to actually feed it in like I did. I fed the link, kept it confined inside of a chat. And that was just for pure spot page to page analysis, right? And that wasn't the entire thing. It was just a collection of, right? That was our first night, kind of like, there's a lot to go through. So let's just get a little taste of what's in here. Let's figure out some things. And let's have it nice and organized for us. That's what it is. And while I could have read them word for word myself, right? That would have taken an incredibly long amount of time and been boring. Instead, I spot checked them, went through them a little bit, read through them a little bit, and then let Grok organize it, put it into nice bullet points, keep track of which ones I'd put in there for me, and draw comparisons as we went. That's the beauty of knowing how to use artificial intelligence the right way and limit any types of hallucinations or any kind of other things that could come from it, is when you know how to use it right. So this guy, whoever Beck decided to listen to, or right, if you just go ask Grok what they think, they're going to find every conspiracy theory out there from the people have been putting out on X, which is just full of them, right? Did they lay out the mafia, Texas Oil, CIA foreplay connection argument like Stone tried to do earlier, or did they have a better one than Stone? So
my first thought was, wow.
So yeah, you can't just ask Grok directly, oh, well, what do you think, Grok? Right? Because it's going to come back with all the shit out there.
Oh, next week's show, my next Wednesday night special, is all built on JFK and the assassination.
He's another one that
go
probably
into my
doesn't
office
believe
and get the gun. Have somebody go into my office and get the gun. But it's next week we're going to do this, and I read this from Grok, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be one of the most amazing shows ever if this is what it is. And here's what Grok says. First guess as to who Grok thinks is responsible for JFK's death. Before diving into the detailed analysis of new players, blah, 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 an educated guess who's responsible for JFK's death. Drawing from the analysis of 31,419 pages and
Oliver Stone,
putting it together with all the public records, the Warren Commission, other findings of
He made a
declassified. You're
lot
going to
of
know when
money
I'm
on the
AI
JFK
because
movie.
All of a sudden, you won't be making.
I won't be. I can read.
mistakes like that.
I can read. The most plausible. Glenn could never read.
He could never say that 3-syllable word.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame.
Anyway, so here are the following are the key players in the JFK assassination, according to this from Grok. Lyndon B. Johnson. Now, when I saw that, I'm like, wait,
what?
That's kind of earth-shattering. What? My team hasn't found that. What are you talking about? Lyndon B. Johnson, the CIA with Alan Dulles, then the Mafia, Victor Petrov, and then Lee Harvey Oswald. And they were all in collusion one way or another. That's what Grok said. Now, I said,
wow, that's quite a collection of people, How about you just spin up a wacko and just watch them go? Didn't take that many people to line up people to try to assassinate Trump, did it? I mean, well, people are going to go up JFK now. They think that there takes 5 different groups of people to get together to mastermind as someone taking a shot at somebody over ideological differences, when that's a distinct pattern, historical pattern that people literally go to war over. However, now they got it. That's the reason why people couldn't just be like, oh, well, Crooks just didn't like him and wanted to do something or wanted to make a name for himself. Or Ryan Ruth had a geopolitical agenda because it's his cuckoldry towards Ukraine and his mind control of the establishment narrative, pushing him to believe things that they didn't use to get support for Ukraine manufacturer consent, right? He became a victim of it to the point where he's like, I have to go over there and be in Ukraine and try to recruit soldiers for it. And this guy's in my way, right? We have to wipe Russia off the face of the earth. That's the greatest evil of all time. And he's not going to do it. He's with Putin. These are things that'll drive people to do stuff, especially loners and rogue actors like these two guys were, Crooks and Ryan Ruth, both, right? And they'll drive them to do it. So they're going to snap eventually, right? They're going to loose cannons will fire. When you shove enough things at them, they will fire. We find it all the time, right? So, anyways,
send that to my team, and I'm like, are you finding any of this? Because I haven't heard this anywhere, and it's posted on a tweet from Grok. A lot of people don't know that I'm a painter, and I get
okay, nice product placement there. So yeah, anyway, so that's the thing. And so you asked the question before you read this, Glenn, what was the prompt they used for Grok, right? Was it guarded? Was it what mode was Grok in? What version were you using? Do you know the fact that Grok cannot access these files natively, right? You have to literally feed the links in one by one, and no one's fed in all several thousand links at once. And then the chat, if you're lucky, will hold up. Like the bulk of the chat will hold up. The thing about these, especially the free ones, is that your chat I've had Grok chats crash on me and be gone. And I'm like, oh shit, I had a lot of good stuff in that chat. I don't want it to be gone. It's gone, right? I can't get it back. It's like, shit, that was a good one. Because as you add stuff into that chat session with Grok, it builds on itself. So you want to have that bank of knowledge there to refer to. And so trying to hold all those files in that does have a size limit. It will naturally flush it out. So I'm lucky that mine's still active. I didn't overwhelm it though. And so now what I want to do is actually go back to that session I was talking about, because inside of that chat session, we have gone through many several renditions of the files. Like we picked them out. If you guys were here on Tuesday, you know what I did. I put them all together, right? So before we get the big ask me anything to all the files stream going on, right? And the ones that are going to be have a valid file structure to work with that we can refer to, like the filing system. It's the architecture of the database, basically, right? Before we have that one available, I want to pull this one up for reference. And I asked it today. I went back to it and asked it. I said, based on what I've given you so far, right? Why do you think Oswald did it? What do you think his motive was? Because there's so much talk about motive, right? Well, this guy, even to be involved. Okay, let's say that all these other people, right, that have theories about things, right? That have they ever ruled Oswald out as participating, not participating, not being a part of it, or not being a part of it alone, right? So let's just say they all have him involved in some way, right? And let's say, well, why was he there? What's his real motive for being there, right? And this is enough to drive somebody on their own, as we've seen with Crooks and more so Ruth, Ruth more so. I really, people want to draw comparisons to Crooks because he got the shot off, right? But I think Ruth is much more like Oswald than Crooks is, especially since I covered both of those things in depth here as well. So here we go. Let's take a look at this. All right, here we go. And I'll scroll in here. Is that good? Let's see. Let me actually get down a little lower. That works better. All right. So based on the records you provided, see Oswald, and along with context about Oswald's Finland trip, affinity for Marxism, and the FPCC, I can offer this informed perspective on his motive. So let's take a look at the key factors. Hey, what's going on out there? Okay, let's take a look at the key factors here. Evidence, deep-seated Marxist ideology. Evidence, Oswald's affinity for Marxism is a reoccurring theme. He called himself a Marxist on the radio in this file right here. Admitted Marxist principles despite Soviet disillusionment right here, and sought to rejoin communist states via Mexico City here and here and here. His defection to the USR via Finland in 1959 was driven by his ideology per Warren Commission right here. Okay. Motive link. JFK embodied the capitalist anti-communist U.S. system Oswald despised. Right? That's a key thing. Is that motivated somebody, especially someone with nothing left to lose and who fought their whole life for communist ideals. Kennedy's policy, the Bay of Pigs invasion, Cuban Missile Crisis, Cold War rhetoric, positioned him as a foe of Castro and the Soviet Union, whom Oswald admired, right? Ryan Ruth admires Zelensky and Ukraine and the corrupt establishment here that funds it, right? That's I'm drawing comparisons with Ruth and Oswald in a sense, right? As someone who could just go off on their own and do something like this, right? His diary noted in the FBI files labeled U.S. as a fascist state. We hear that today, don't we? Same ideologically subverted minds using the same language because it's the same mind control working, suggesting a personal vendetta against its leadership. Personal grievances and alienation. Evidence of Oswald's life marked by instability and rejection. In Minsk, the KGB saw him as unstable. In the U.S., he was a loner with a failing marriage. Marina left him briefly in 1963. His menial jobs, never having success. His FPCC chapter was a solo flop. Now, this is one of these chapters that people are be like, oh no, this is where the CIA got to him and his chapter and this anti-Castro chapter, or this this chapter that he started on his own. He was by himself, right? There was no influencers there. It was just him. And his comes out of the files. It was slow. He was by himself, right? His Mexico City visa quest fails, right? Motive link. The isolation likely fueled resentment. Like, every psycho killer out there. A charismatic, powerful figure, JFK, contrasted sharply to Oswald's marginalized existence, resentment. Killing him could have been a bid for significance. You think so? Oh, you think that's what Ryan Ruth and Crooks might have tried to do what they did for significance in an otherwise insignificant life? An act to strike back. I mean, Ruth was being rejected left and right, even by the Ukrainians themselves. They wouldn't let him in the army. Nobody wanted to join his cause. He kept trying to piece things together that would fall through. And he was not that well respected. An act to strike back at the system and leader he felt excluded him. He said, "There's something. It's on me. I'll take care of it myself. I'll do it myself." And when nobody else will do what he thinks needs to be done, he'll do it himself. As hinted in an FBI assessment right here of his personal ideology, act to strike back at the system, right? Demoralize a country who by taking out their beloved leader. Pro-Castro zeal and FPCC activism. Evidence of Oswald's FPCC work in New Orleans, April through September of 63. That's not a very long stint. Showed fierce support for Castro. Hands off Cuba. Leaflets, radio defense, and his friend of the revolutions and his friend of the revolution claim in Mexico. He claimed he was a friend of the revolution. His clash with CIA-backed DRE, underscores his anti-U.S. pro-Cuban stance. Motive links. JFK's anti-Castro policies, embargoes, assassination plots like A.M. Lash noted here in this document right here, made him a target for Oswald's revolutionary sympathies. The assassin might have been an ideological defense of Cuba, though no Cuban direction is evidenced. Opportunity and capability. Here we go. Evidence. Oswald worked at Texas School Book Depository in Dallas, overlooking Denali Plaza by October 63. He owned a miniature Carcano rifle. I probably just killed that word. Linked to via A.J. Hedel from those days. He had a Marine sharpshooter. He had Marine sharpshooter training. I thought he was an awful shot, but I know a Marine sharpshooter. I know one of the top ones in the country, and at least at one time he was. He was one of the top, right? And he's a damn good shot. So if you had Marine sharpshooter training, maybe that means he's a pretty better shot than people are saying that he was. Now the hearsay, the people that are biased and trying to keep their bias confirmed, the hearsay in that is, oh, people say he was an awful shot. Well, the people say just told you that it's hearsay, right? But would you say that someone who has been Marine sharpshooter trained is a better shot than the average person? Ryan Ruth, James Crooks got the president's ear, top of his ear, and then the president hadn't turned his head, that amateur shot would have landed. Granted, it wasn't a moving target, but luckily it was a moving target. A gunshot led about a scope purchase suggests premeditation. Okay, so he got the scope, he had the rifle, he had a reason. Premeditation. Motive link. Practical access. JFK's motorcade route on November 22nd aligned with his means and skills. This wasn't random. It was calculated act enabled by circumstances reflecting intent over impulse. As in, he knew it was coming. He's like, oh, you know what? I bet he'll be coming right down the street. I can get a shot at him. Lack of foreign direction. Evidence. CIA and FBI docs consistently rule out Soviet or Cuban orchestration. Okay. Koskov's Department 13 was incidental. No DGI link via FPCC or Mexico. These are the document numbers where this information is located. Soviet and Cuban denials post-assassination, right here in this document right here. Motive link. Without external orders, Oswald's act points to personal agenda. His Marxism and Castro support were self-driven, not puppet strings, making it a lone expression of his beliefs, much like the most recent two, right? But see, people can't imagine that someone can get away with things that, they wouldn't dream of doing. But they're not that person. They don't live that life. They don't wake up with that perception or that mental condition. Right, based on the records and context you provided, I think Oswald's assassinated JFK due to a volatile mix of ideological hatred, personal frustration, and a desire for historical impact, catalyzed by his opportunity in Dallas. Would have this happened if he hadn't been in Dallas that day? That's the question you can ask now, right? Ideological hatred. Oswald's Marxism and pro-Castro zeal positioned JFK as the ultimate symbol of everything he opposed. Capitalism, anti-communism, and U.S. imperialism. Killing Kennedy was a strike at the system amplified by JFK's Cuban policies that clashed with Oswald's FPCC ideas. Now, take this out, put Trump's name in there, and put Ukraine in there, Russia, whatever, and you got Ryan Ruth's probably what you're going to hear from him. I'm telling you, this is so similar. Personal frustrations. His life was a series of failures. Ryan Ruth again. Soviet rejection, Ukraine rejection. Okay, that's Ryan Ruth. FPCC isolation. His little gang of recruitment effort in Ukraine. Every time you see him in those pictures in Ukraine, he's by himself. He was constantly by himself, online by himself. He had no backing. He had no organization. Very similar to Oswald in this sense. Visa denials. Well, that doesn't apply, does it? Marital strife. I don't know what Ruth's deal is with that, but he seemed like the kind of guy who couldn't get laid. The assassination was a way to assert control and relevance. This is what people who do things like this, their mental situation, the voice is driving them. This will make them see, this will teach them, this will make them see, this will show them you're right, this will make you important, this will take care of things. People will appreciate it one day. Whatever kind of shit's going through their head, they're talking themselves into it. And this is all drive to from their ego, right? To help them feel in control and relevant. Tuning into his powerless rage and turning his powerless rage into a world-altering act, going down in history. Historical impact. Oswald craved significance. Ruth craved significance. Evidence in his defection, evidence in his journey to Ukraine to start recruiting people. See, I'm just drawing parallels between these two assassins, one a would-be assassin and one an assassin. I really think that these two guys are Ruth's an archetype, or Oswald's an archetype of Ruth, right? The FPCC stunts, a radio bravado, murdering a president ensured his name endured. I'll show them a twisted fulfillment of his knowing people in high places boast, right? Supporting insights from the document, pre-assassination behaviors. Here's the behaviors that support these insights. His Mexico City trip showed a desperation to escape the U.S., possibly escalating his anti-American resolve when thwarted. The self-styled Marxist label underscores a personal crusade, like really just coming out in a world in America and other places where Marxists are doing horrible things around the world. And it's so funny that these people that are self-ascribed Marxists forget that Hitler was a Marxist. Nazis were Marxists. Like they just seem to forget the right wing of their Marxist ideology. I don't understand why they don't. They so proudly profess this, but so rampantly throw around the words fascist when they are following a fascist ideology. It seems like that just shows that is a mind control apparatus, a mental illness. Marxism is a mental illness. It is a mind control apparatus dressed up like a political ideology. It's a grift in itself, but it's one that controls the minds and divides people and does horrible, horrible things to society. It's meant to break freedom and break liberty and divide people and destroy sovereign nations. The people under the extreme mind control think it's a badge of honor to call themselves this word, right? Posted Levy, I'm going to read your comment as soon as I get done. I'm almost to the bottom of this, I think. Yeah, I'm almost to the bottom. So hang tight. Post-assassination framing. CIA and FBI concluded personal initiatives motivated by personal ideologies. Feeling that way, align with this. Jack Ruby's killing of Oswald silenced direct confirmation, but the record points to internal, not external drivers. Yeah, the record so far is pointing to that, right? So anybody who's out there trying to sell another thing, are they ignoring that or what? I mean, that's the one thing I don't hear. Let me get up here and just say this. That's the one thing I don't hear these people with predetermined biases going into this admitting and talking about. Nobody's talking about the Marxism. Nobody's talking about it. They're too busy trying to blame America and Americans and our American intelligence agencies and American presidents and American people. Nobody's looking at the root cause issue. And that's what I'm here to do. Like, why aren't you looking at this poison, toxic ideology that's allowed to persist? Right? Underneath the crux is this Marxist influence that's been penetrated into our society. Now, maybe not as radical as maybe it's a more watered down version than Oswald, who's completely radical, but the elements that lead these people to these false narratives about the world, the methodologies, the institutions that push them into these corners, these information ghettos in their mind, right, are all Marxist in nature. They've been watered down and smoothed over and renamed, right, to continue the subversion. Again, not looking at the root cause issue. Oh, the CIA did it because this and that and that, right? Maybe so. We'll see. But why is everybody ignoring the giant million-pound gorilla in the room? Marxism. It's plain as day. It's splattered across things. Marxism never brings people to violence. It never makes them do crazy things or think stupid things. Never, ever, ever, right? No, but just always. Always. It's literally dividing our country in half. It's literally now at this point so toxic that it's causing people to cut their children's parts off. I mean, it's gone to a level that is beyond the people that created it thought it ever could. Right? But no way it could cause someone to go off some rogue guy and go, with Marine training and the opportunity and the weapon to go off and do something stupid to make a point because he's never made a point in his life. He's never done anything, No, people don't do that for that reason, right? No, it's got to have 5 different components to it, including big oil, CIA, vice president, and other kinds of people, right? No, it couldn't just be mind control, like from a toxic, mentally ill ideology. Couldn't just be that. But let me finish. So I want to read Levy's comment coming up here next. All right. Personal initiatives. Jack, okay. No conspiracy. The absence of Soviet, Cuban, and CIA ties across all docs leave Oswald's motives as self-generated, rooted in his documented beliefs and psyche. Okay. So to be fair to everybody, this is from a sampling of documents that I've given it. So you can see that it's staying confined to the parameters I've left it in, right? So it's not going out and making more assumptions. It's not finding anything else. It's specifically going with the documents that I put in from the file drops. Now we're going to expand this. I'm going to ask this question again later when we have all these documents accessible, right? I'm going to ask all these questions later. So we will, and that's the thing. I want people to be able to ask their own questions to the information and not have somebody with a bias give you the answers, right? That's why I framed tonight's show the way I did. That's why I started out with people that were coming out and showing you a complete, utter disdain for things and a bias and a predetermined outcome. So for them, why even release the documents? They were never going to change their mind. But for you, maybe we can make a difference. All right. Why not other theories? Conspiracy, Soviet, Cuban, the 2025 docs exhaustively debunk foreign plots. Koskov and Duran were dead ends. Oswald's solo PCC effort lacks a handler. CIA anti-Castro, the Dre clash was incidental, not operational. The Yanicide's role is unlinked to Oswald's act. No evidence ties him to CIA schemes like AM Lash coming out of here. Okay, so we'll right at this point, with what we put in there, that's what's coming up with. We'll give it everything. Random impulse. His rifle prep and book depository job suggests planning, not a spur of the moment snap per FBI leads. All right. Conclusion. Oswald likely did it because he was a disillusioned Marxist who saw JFK as the face of a system he hated, compounded by personal failures that drove him to seek infamy through violence. The 2025 records portray him as a lone actor. His FPCC activism and Mexico City quest reflect a consistent anti-U.S. ideology, not a conspiracy. On November 22nd, 1963, his beliefs, frustrations, and opportunities converged in Dallas, making Kennedy's death a personal statement, radical, reckless, and tragically effective. This aligns with the Warren Commission's lone gunman finding, which your documents reinforce, while leaving his inner turmoil as the unspoken spark. All right. There you have it. So that's where we stand today with what we got, and we'll continue to expand upon that. So now let's turn to the crowd and see what Mr. Levy has to say. My working theory is LHO decided to do it, and a couple of groups found out USSR/Cuba and or CIA/LBJ and decided to make sure he didn't miss a posting by posting a couple extra snipes there. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. That would put everything nice and safe. Yeah. You got your observed deranged Marxists going off on his own to do it. and then you have a subsequent non-collaboration type. Oops, yeah, I'm still here, right? Yeah, non-collaboration type conspiracy going in the background. So Libby has the background conspiracy. It's on the table, bud. It's on the table, and that, unfortunately, I think that it probably will stay on the table, because I don't think that that's where you're gonna feel like that's where it's gonna be like, you won't find that in these documents somewhere. Maybe we'll find it. Maybe something does get in there, but know what you know and learn what you don't, and be careful of how people speak to you about things when it comes to these kind of things, especially conspiracies. Question what they ask you. Always leave in question what they ask you to take on faith. Right? Never commit to someone who then you end up like listening to Greer and being like, oh yeah, because 90% of what he tells people is take it on faith, right? Listen to their own personal bias and how they try to defend it, right? These are things that keep you based and keep you from falling in these rabbit holes, staring into the abyss, discrediting yourself, and never getting to the truth. And getting to the truth is satisfying. It should be the goal of every endeavor we set out upon in terms of understanding things, right? It's better to know the truth than be right. But I don't know if we'll ever see something like this, but maybe I think we turn to a forensics argument there, right? Eyewitnesses, those are very hit and miss, mostly miss. But you turn to forensics, right? So maybe there's a way, in some way, shape, or form, that some missing piece that isn't out there yet that we find that could be true. You have these false confessions of people wanting attention. Never underestimate the people when they don't give a fuck about what they do to others, what they're willing to do, including lying, creating complete and utter. Maybe that's what they're supposed. Maybe that's what we're supposed to be doing. Maybe I'm the bad guy here. Maybe I'm the one's fucking everything up, calling it out. No, you're supposed to make up as much shit as you possibly can, right, to entertain everybody else. I'm failing as an entertainer because I'm not coming up with good shit. I should have come out with this whole thing and put on a big play, right? And maybe that's why I piss people off, because I'm constantly screwing up the game, right, by calling it out. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I just don't know that I'm not supposed to do it. Someone come tell me what the real game is, right? Someone come tell me, oh, you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be making up your own shit and seeing what you can get over on people. And if it's really good, then you make a lot of money doing it, and then that becomes who you are, right? And people remember you for that. I don't want to be remembered for that, but I guess that's what some people want. Maybe I'm supposed to want it. I don't know. This is just what I am. Okay. Arlene, it was a dream. I feel like LHO and Crooks both acted alone, but were manipulated and guided to do so. Would you say they were manipulated and guided by information? That they thought they were acting on their own to further their ideas? Well, it's like I'm with you on some of that. But I believe in the shotgun approach. I believe that pans out to be the thing, as in you put enough agitating information, conforming information, indoctrinating information, subversive information out there. You trigger it with different types of information that trigger people to activate, like the triggering activation information that is making people go and burn and attack Teslas, right, randomly. People that otherwise wouldn't act out in such a mentally unstable way, are suddenly mentally unstable, and they don't even understand why, right? They've been triggered, they've been manipulated by the information. And then, see, I believe that loose cannons fire. And that's how you get people that go off and do heinous things out of the blue. And they're like, oh my God. Like, we almost never find that there's some kind of big group behind people. It's always some kind of lone deranged person that's, psycho meds, long therapy, manifesto, journals, long hair, reading up, maybe a quick ramp up a couple of years. Cremo, other people you can say that a couple of years earlier they were said to be fine, and then a couple of years later they went off the deep end. A fast activation period due to triggering information. I would say that aligns somewhat guided. Was it specifically guided like, we got this guy Crooks now, let's just go ahead and keep on guiding him because he's going to be in Butler on that day, and we know we climb a roof, we know we could, we just like, it seems so complicated when if you just trigger the person, like you see. But the problem is we don't hear enough about the triggers, right? We get a good dose of it. Trust me, we got a good dose of it. But man, there's even more. Like, just take this. Like, there's a guy that got deported for pushing a woman down steps on the subway. He just walked by and pushed her because she was white and she was standing there. And opportunity, condition, boom, motive, whatever. He hates America. He hates Americans. He wants to go back and tell his homies or tell whoever that he did a violent act against a white person and get accolades for that and feel like he's protected. He's done something for his race against these oppressive white people. That narrative that's been built into his mind, the trigger and the opportunity were there. That white woman sitting there at the edge of the steps, and she had her back turned, and she'll never figure it out. Of course, he didn't know he was being filmed. Now he's out of the country, right? Should be out of the country in a jail, right? Because that happens all the time. People getting pushed in the subways, people get pushed downstairs, pushed into traffic, hit from behind. These triggers are happening all the time. Loose cannons are firing everywhere, right? Without any handling. Some people are on the higher levels of intelligence and can plot and plan. And the higher levels of intelligence, but the higher levels of derangement at the same time, can plot and plan, right? And they can acquire skills, and they can be crafty and clever and evade detections, right? Until it's too late. And that's when the boot comes crashing down upon their head. That's when, you guys hear me okay? I'm not even talking to my mic. That's when the boot comes crashing down upon their head. That's when reality suddenly comes rushing back in a tidal wave. And they realize, what the fuck did I just do? Or they double down, like, hell yeah, I just did that. Before I get into a conspiracy theory, I ask myself, does knowing the real truth change anything? Good question. Does knowing the real truth change everything? Well, it keeps you from believing bullshit. That's about the best answer I can give you right now. But that's a great question. I like that. Kind of like Booth assassinating Lincoln. Thought it would get notoriety and fame. There you go, MJ. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a great coordination. That's a great correlation right there. I didn't even think about going back to the Lincoln days. But we know the CIA was in on it. It didn't exist yet. Yeah, but they were going to. I'm sure they had a hand in it. I'm sure Jones will tell you that. See, but that's a good correlation. Yeah. And that's generally what people who act out in grandiose ways and major ways do. Bombers do the same thing. They all get it in their head. See, the problem is normal people like me and you, we don't have that voice in our head. And if it's there, it's very much gets squashed. What are you talking about, you idiot? Right? But doing something grandiose in big ways, right, to make a point, we can reason that through. Even as a passing thought, we can reason that through to its outcome and realize that is not going to be what happens in the end. That's just Hollywood. That's just some kind of fantasy playing in our minds, right? These people cannot. To these people, it becomes something very doable and something that should be done. And that's the difference between the healthy mind and the unhealthy mind right there. Thank you for bringing that up. That's awesome. Media spent so much time calling Trump and way back then, media soft trash. Oh, back then the media was soft trashing JFK. Good point. That the media back then was infiltrated by Marxists, wasn't it? It already was subverted. The subversion machine. Arlene's calling it out right now. But they were already, we forget that. That was a great point. We forget how much the media was trashing JFK around that time. And there you go. A stout, out of the closet, very proud Marxist with radical tendencies, and opportunity and training, happen to be there and make the $1 million shot. And maybe, just maybe had some undercover help. I don't know. But he was being activated and triggered, which is what you're pointing out right now. The triggering, the activation process was in play. The loose cannon was firing. Good point. Love that. Thank you so much. Listen to the Wolf guys. The need for publicity only gets worse as the years go by. I'm so glad I don't have that problem. Mine actually goes backwards. Mine's actually going backwards. You know, I'm probably in younger days with guitar in hand or some bullshit like that. Maybe there was a little bit of that going on. Even then I went by nicknames. So I don't know that I was ever a thing. I think I always kind of like worried about what that would be like, you know. I don't think I ever really wanted that kind of, you know, right, success level, money level, yeah. But notoriety level, I'd rather keep it. That's just a secret. That's just my nature. Some people need it. They need it. They feed on it. I feed on privacy. Like I'd rather have privacy, and rather have peace than I've been around fame. I've been around it. I've seen what it does to people. I've seen what it does to people, and what their life is like. Phone never stops ringing. People never stop doing things. People never stop trying to get in. It never stops, as we would say in the music business. It never stops. It never stops. One thing to the next, the next, the next. In fact, I was a deflector for people that were famous. So I understand. I was the barrier to the insanity. Right? You can see why they want someone like me to do that, right? Because I can handle situations. I can think on my feet fast. I can solve problems, right? I can be resourceful. I can be intimidating. I can be whatever it needs to happen in that situation to resolve it and to make sure the objective is clear. They don't get bothered. They get to where they need to be, and whoever has their agenda doesn't see it through. Very, very spur of the moment, quick acting moments right there. You know, where you have to react in a second, but you also have to do it in a very professional, likable way, because you are in business, right? And you know, a lot of bands, they don't want to run them off, but let them have a bad experience. You know, you want them to still be there, but you want them to understand that they're barriers, and there's certain times for certain things and not certain times for certain things, right? And that, these guys are either with somebody or married, so you can't get to them that way either. All right. So yeah, there's all that stuff. It does. And as those guys age out, they don't want the publicity anymore. I'll tell you that right now. They want more people like me around them to keep that publicity away from them. My neighbor's 9-year-old is on a crap ton of prescriptions. All it takes is her meds to be off, and she is busting up our porch and screaming randomly. See, that's fucked up, man. I'm so sorry to hear that. And that's the cycle of abuse. So we're back to the cycle of abuse. Coming out of big pharma, corporations make money out of that. Institutionalized psychiatry, right? And of course, critical theory, and all of its evil roll-offs or spin-offs. So critical race theory, critical gender theory, causing damage, dividing people, causing mental illness. And then you have the society itself, the demoralization process, right? The cycle of abuse. That's what I'm saying. The cycle of abuse enables the cycle of control. So if we learn how to disable the cycle of abuse by disabling the methodologies that produce it, then the cycle of control loses power, right? We are able to overcome that and perhaps, just perhaps, make a better world. But until we address and resolve the root cause issues and what's causing them, this cycle continues, right? The cycle continues. No matter who's in office, no matter how much progress we make, they'll undo it. They'll come back in and undo it, within a record time. And they'll do it to mass applause from the brainwashed, useful idiot masses that they have already subverted into their cause. Until we stop the subversion, we'll never stop the war. And we have to address the root cause issues. So thank you for that. That's very sad. And I hate that. And I don't guys, you just do what you got to do to never, ever have to do that. For the select few that it helps, then good for you. But for most people, it causes damage, and that sucks. The media was enamored with the 1930s Germans, especially 1936 Olympics. Yep. And back then they had no idea, the people that were printing stuff that were out to get them, right? They had no idea that was a primary opportunity for the communists, the Marxist subverters out there. Yuri Bezmenov himself was a reporter, right? His target was in India, though. But a reporter, a journalist, right? He'll tell you, he told you on all of his content, very critical, the real red pill, Yuri Bezmenov, all of his ideological subversion education that he put out there for us. He tells you these journalists, the position of journalist is one of the most sought after positions of the subverter. And we also know why, right? We talk about it all the time because that's where you can actually create the narrative that boxes the minds and of the useful idiots. And then you own them. Then they will do as you say, as you trigger them to do, as you pull them in the direction they want to go that you've already predefined. You've already predefined that direction for them, right?
So that's exactly the martial art tactic. We don't stop an enemy. We let him go. We help him to go in the direction we want them to go.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And we still do it today, right? Andrew, what's up? How have you been? Good to see you. What you been up to? It's Andre Diet over there on the Rumble side, kicking ass, taking names. Thank you for being there tonight. Thank you for being part of it. I appreciate it. And each and every one of you, I hope you guys are Rumble, you're making it happen, man. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you follow, ring the bell, be part of the solution, join Winning Reality, and let's go. We'll win reality together. That's how we do it here. And thank you for being here. Thank you. Imagine how easy those medicated young adults are to manipulate with media. Oh yeah, big time. And not only that, but also just anybody else that's wrapped up in the drug world, like lifestyle drug people. They think, because they get so normalized to the experience of being in an altered state of consciousness, that they're actually perceiving reality as it is, but they're really perceiving a high or a different reality, right? The reality, they have to understand the reality is slightly off if they stay high all the time. You stay high all the time, you're not in the base form of reality. You're in an altered state of consciousness reality, right? And some people get used to it and they forget that that's where they're at. So, and then some people learn how to manage it in their mind, right? They're like, well, I'm just, I'm high. That's why I'm thinking like this, or that's how I act when I'm high, right? They learn how to manage it a little bit better, but doesn't mean things won't slip by them, right? They won't forget at times. That's just people that are like lifers on that, party lifers, right? There are people that are completely always functioning on 4 or 5 things, right? I'm telling you, I've been there, known it, seen it, done it. That's the way it's been. That a lot of young people are like that, and then that reality becomes base reality for them, base form reality. But it's really an altered state of consciousness reality, and so things can get over on them really easily. Most of the people that I know that do that are establishment useful idiots, really, and they can't be talked to about anything. They can't be reasoned with on any level, right? They're emotional. It really it's just emotion, ego, right? And then it's validation from others. They need that validation. They need to stay hooked into the scene where they can get their stuff and they can get other people that share it with them, right? Every night, every time they go out, that's on their mind. Everywhere they go, that's what they're doing, right? That's what the real star of the show is in their life. They don't even realize it. That's what the real star of the show is. Everywhere they go, at every party they're at. That's the real star of the show. It's that drug, whatever it is that night. Whatever it is they pine for, whatever the Jones is, chasing the Jonesers is what they're doing. Yeah, here we go. That great playlist right here. Check this out. All the content and my take, my deep dives, all my deep dives into this content. It is the real red pill. If you understand ideological subversion, you will see it and you will know it. You will know that you grew up in it. You will see it around you and you will understand what the weapon it pointed at you truly is. So please check out this content and make sure you understand it, because it could just change your life, save your life, and may save somebody else's life. Do it. It's on Rumble and it's on YouTube right now. Just click that link and save it. All right. Back to in the JFK days, there were only 3 television stations. Very easy. Yes, baby. Great point. Very easy to control the narrative when there's only 3, right? And only several nationally published newspapers as well. What? Washington Post, New York Times, right? The Daily Cuckold. I don't know. Whatever. Everybody had their paper, right? But but yeah, the 3 stations, man, so easy to craft the narrative. Oh, they're centered on all 3 stations. They didn't have one of their. The people say that journalists had more integrity back then. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. But they definitely had subverters in there. They definitely had Operation Paperclip in there, right? That's a real thing. There's a real conspiracy for you. Bring the Marxists in. Give them influential jobs. Still got it. Now they just train them in school. I can tell you, going through communications and stuff like that, the literature and the approach they do to training new journalists is very much Marxist based. Very much Marxist based. Very much so. And no one's stopping that yet. Yeah, there's a Control Oligarchs playlist. That's a good playlist right there. That's what the Globalist playlist for globalism. A Big Intel playlist is when you want to go into for Marxist origins and how they infiltrated our government and infiltrated our schools and infiltrated our intelligence agencies. That book, I think, is a great book for that, to teach you the history of it. And when you pair that with the Big Intel with Yuri Bezmenov, if you make a weekend out of that, or make a week out of it, or a couple weeks out of it, or whatever, if you pair that information together, you got pretty much all of it. There's still more to learn, of course, but you got a lot of foundation stuff right there about how the world has really been working your entire life. And then you'll start to see it. You'll see it in entertainment. You'll see it in media. You'll see it in politics. You'll see it in all the things. And you'll realize what we've really been up against and why it's really a generational battle. And it's up to us generationally to fix this. Most of our generations are going to be lost to the mind control. And that's frustrating. It's frustrating for me. It makes it's frustrating for you. It makes the world the way it is. But yeah, Mockingbird. Yeah, Mockingbird. I always get those two mixed up. Mockingbird and Paperclip. People have called me on that before. I'm like, yeah, you're right. Mockingbird was a CIA media manipulation program. Thank you so much for that, Levy. It sure was. That was it, right? That was it. I don't know why. I always got the paper clips and the Mockingbirds mixed up. I don't know why. For some reason, I got it backwards in the filing cabinets. Thank you guys for the thumbs up on the Rumble side. That helps get us out in the algorithm. And it's summertime, so things are slowing down a little bit. And like I said, I'm not out there confirming people's biases or tickling their ass with a feather. That's not what I do. Yeah, there's plenty of people who do that. I guess people want that these days. But if you want your ears pissed in or you want your ass tickled with a feather, you're in the wrong place. I gotta tell you that. But at the same time, base truth, and we do things together here that are for the betterment of the world. So if you like that kind of stuff, if you like cool people to hang out with, if you like the base crowd, that for the most part really knows when they open their mouth to talk, they know what they're talking about. If you like people like that, you'll love this crowd. You'll love hanging out here. Be more part of it. I'm not talking to people that are. I'm talking to people that are just watching maybe for the first time. Come and join the scene, man. It's cool. And if you just like to lurk, man, thank you for lurking. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate everybody that supports the channel so much. And I know that times are tight and people give what they can, and I do appreciate that. Paperclip is the Nazi scientist. Yes. I spent too much time down those rabbit holes. Yeah. I always get them backwards. I knew that the one with the scientist. I actually forgot. I usually just go to Paperclip first. And I'm like, because Paperclip and media, it's the association. Paper with the Paperclip, media and paper. That's why I do it. That's what happens every time. All right, guys. Let's see, 38. But hey, look, check this out. We can do something really cool right now. We can do this. Vinyl Pilled, Wisconsin, what's up? Thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that. Very generous of you. Thank you so much. Everything changed in 1999. Was over, I think, when everything changed when in 1995, 1999 was over, and I think everyone had a shift in life, and it wasn't for the better. Oh, you mean like Y2K stuff? Man, I appreciate the super chat. I gotta tell you something, man. It started long before that. We were born into it. We were born into this situation. So don't blame yourself. We were born in this situation. It started long before we were around. But I talk about that a great deal. Some of the things I was talking about earlier will kind of give you that information. Definitely check out the Yuri stuff if you haven't watched it. Like, go there first, and then you can back that information up with the book, Big Intel. It's worth the read. It's really worth the read. And if you won't want to read it, I did the whole thing on audiobook. You can just listen to, and I don't talk over a lot of it at all. That book probably more than any, I'll stop and be like, see, this is what I'm talking about. But that was probably it. For the most part, I let it run. I want people to be able to listen to it and enjoy it. So you can listen to all the chapters of that. Like I said, when you book in that information together, do that, come back and let's talk. You'll be like, oh yeah. We were born into it. I see it now. Yeah. But yeah, Y2K, that was a manufactured crisis. And all this manufactured crisis caused people to spend a lot of money and do a lot of things. But we made it. I remember where I was New Year's Eve 2000. I was down in Everglades, Florida Everglades, listening to an all night, all day concert. That's where I was at. Doing this Big Cypress, in a band called The Fish. Oh man, back in the days with a very lovely lady, and a lot of good friends at the time, but oh, how so much has changed. All right. Let's see. I wanted to get into some. Do we even do top news tonight? I kind of just feel like this topic's enough. But I do have. Let's just do this. Let's do this. We got some top news to cover. I think we became very ambiguous after that. We went from the standard diff to HD as was one big example. Do we have HD in 1999? Very ambiguous. Cool. Well, with a name like Vinyl, you have the record playing, right? You have the record playing. Let's go to this right here. We can do this one. We got time. In 1999, it was HD. Wow, it's been hard to believe. How the time flies. All right. All right, so we got some speaking of media subversion and boxing people into a false narrative. This is the false narrative boxed in new establishment bullshit of the day. Let me make sure I got this on winning speed. All right. Okay. This is the one you got to be working out for today, right? There you go.
Times now reporting that Elon Musk is about to potentially get access to some of the nation's most closely guarded military secrets. According to what the Times just reported a few moments ago and published on their website, the Pentagon is scheduled on Friday to brief Elon Musk on the U.S. military's plan for any war that might break out with China. After the Times published this article just a few moments ago, Sean Parnell, the chief Defense Department spokesperson, provided this statement, and I'm quoting him now. He says the Defense Department is excited to welcome Elon Musk to the Pentagon on Friday. He was invited by Secretary Hegseth and is just visiting. Eric Schmidt.
But if you read what's out of the New York Times, it's such a dishonest newspaper. It's such garbage. It's, it used to be called all the news that's fit to print. Well, it's all the news that's not fit to print. They have fake sources, or they don't have sources. I think they make most of it up. But this was a made-up story by the New York Times. I call it the failing. It's a failing newspaper. It's failing. And they shouldn't do that. They really are the enemy of the people. And we do need honest journalism. And,
yes.
We've made such big strides over the last 2 months. But we just need honest journalism, and we don't have it. When you have a CNN, I watch You have to watch these people every once in a while just to see where they're coming from. And it's so dishonest. MSNBC is, I think, probably worse. And they're both doing horribly in the ratings. I think they're going to be turned off. I don't think they're not doing any ratings.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about another fake news story that I think is a prime example of just how piss poor journalism has become in this country, because journalism is not journalism anymore, right? It is simply just Trump deranged propaganda. And all of these so-called reputable legacy outlets, like, for example, the New York Times, they don't do journalism. They don't ask any questions about any piece of news or information that they get that they could possibly use to smear President Trump. But when it comes to Democrats, though, they will bend over backwards to defend Democrats from any scandal, right? Any piece of information that leaks about Democrats that makes Democrats look bad, they will go out their way to try to defend it, to try to debunk it, to say, hey, this is not true for X, Y, and Z reasons. But when it comes to President Trump, he does not get the benefit of the doubt. Okay. And the latest fake news story we got to talk about here is an obvious fake news story that I don't even understand how this gets printed, right? I don't even understand how anybody can put this out here and say that, oh yeah, this is journalism. Okay. Because according to anonymous sources, remember, there's always these anonymous sources. People won't actually put their name on their face behind the things they're saying.
Back was not so
They
bright.
claim that the Pentagon set up a briefing for Elon Musk on a potential war with China. Okay, this is what they claim. Okay, ahead of Elon Musk meeting with the Pentagon. Now, anybody with two brain cells to rub together should question whether or not this is true, right? Would the Pentagon really meet with Elon Musk to talk about a potential war with China? Right?
How do
It just
people buy
sounds
this
too
shit?
good to be true, right? It sounds like something that you should probably double and triple and
Greg's always
quadruple
been
check
nice.
before
Yeah.
publishing as if it is factual, especially with a
They don't
headline like
care.
this, because we know that certain outlets, like for example MSNBC,
They don't care.
all they do is read the headline. They don't read the article, in which you can clearly see that they don't have any solid or reliable source to verify that this is true. But again,
They
that's
don't care.
not what Rachel Madcow needs, okay, in order to run this story as if it is factual. All she needed was a headline, which she admits that, hey, I didn't read this story. I don't really know what this story is about. I don't know anything about the details. But hey, Tim Walsh, react to this, freak out over this headline from the New York Times.
Governor, since we've been on the air tonight, a story has broken in the New York Times, and it has broken since I have been on the air, and so I'm not fully read in on this, but I know that you've at least seen the headline, and I want to ask you just for your reaction to this. It's a pretty shocking story. The headline is Musk, meaning Elon Musk, set to get access to top secret U.S. plan for potential war with China. The lead is this: the Pentagon is scheduled tomorrow, Friday, to brief Elon Musk on the U.S. military's plan for any war that might break out with China. One official confirming to the Times that Musk is to be at the Pentagon on Friday, but offering no details. Mr. Musk, of course, has extensive financial interests in China, and so this, I think, is raising lots of alarm bells for a lot of different people. The Pentagon's war plans, known in military jargon as O plans or operational plans.
Oh, look at that. She's got all like cucked him over there, man. Why is it that? Oh, yeah. Please run him. Please run him for president.
Military's most closely guarded secrets. If a foreign country was to learn how the U.S. planned to fight a war against them, it would reinforce its defenses and address its weaknesses, making the plans far less likely to succeed. The top secret briefing for the China war plan has 20 to 30 slides that lay out how the U.S. would fight such a conflict. It covers various options on what Chinese targets the U.S. could hit over what time period. And these would be the options that would be presented to Mr. Trump for decisions. For some reason, they've decided to show Elon Musk this level of detail about a potential war with China while he operates the largest
in your
Tesla,
ear.
largest car factory, I believe, in China, and has immense financial interests in that country and contacts with that country's government that he has not disclosed to the U.S. as part of maintaining his security clearance. I just got to get your reaction to that, sir.
Well, speechless would be the word. I don't know how to convey. I don't possess the language ability to convey how far out of the norm this is. Like nothing that people listening, like, look, this is those of us who served, the background checks from the.
This should tell you everything you need to know about a person. What he should say is, I don't know anything about that. I should look into it. But no, he's going to come right out and play into it, which is what they all do. This is what Mad Cow's doing right there, too. He's playing into it, too. They're all lying. They're all grifted.
FBI just to receive clearance as an artillery enlisted soldier was extensive. To
There he
get that
goes again
background.
with
And
his
then the level of information
$4.
that you can get, or as a member of Congress, to be able to have access to this type of information. These are closely guarded secrets because our national and our global defense depends upon them. And once again, we have this.
Huckleberry Finn.
I don't know the character, the world's richest man with the world's most fragile ego. And I don't understand where the Republicans, where are Lindsey Grahams, where are these people who know how this works? I'll be candid. I think this guy is deeply damaged, a buffoon, but
I think this guy's projecting. That's what I think. I think this guy's projecting. What do you think, crowd? You think he's projecting a little bit? I think he's projecting a little bit. I think he's projecting. Yeah, indeed.
So don't want to elevate him. He is unelected. He does not know how this stuff works. And Donald Trump is being reckless
He probably
with
knows
the most
about it more than you do.
sensitive data. So I want to try and provide some assurance to the American people. But I also think our leadership needs to be very clear about not sugarcoating this. And Donald Trump obviously disrespects the American public. He thinks they're not smart enough to understand this and doesn't care. I do believe the American public knows. And I do believe when they see stories.
Slander pander.
Like this, that this is why these town halls are growing so big. This is why
There's these fake town halls that are not really growing so big. They're just full of your people pretending to be us. You mean that you mean that old trick? You mean that old trick? You know what's going to happen, Tim? The people that are going to these places for you are going to get doxxed. All right. People are going to recognize them. They're going to see them. We do this we've been through this so many times. You guys keep doing it. Right? They're going to be called out for being Democrat plans. This happens. It's been happening for decades. You guys keep going to the well. You keep going back to the well for your dumb bullshit. We know your tricks, dude. These town halls are fucking fabricated. They're fabricated. They're bullshit. They are bullshit. We all know it. We all see you. You demonic lying son of a bitch. We all see you. Please. Yeah, no, he looks like he's about to cry, doesn't he? Please run for president so we can just have memes galore for years. So we can spend time and on streams just calling you out for your lies and your weirdness and your weird, all the shit that you're going on in your house and stuff. You don't want none of this, man. You don't want none of this. You can't win. So please run. Waste a bunch of people's money. Get people mad at you. They know it's a bunch of BS. Like, yeah, that's all they got. That's all they got, right? Damaged ego. Yep. Mm-hmm. Tim cheers for people that lose 401ks that work for Tesla. Yeah, what a piece of shit. Yeah, I don't even think he'll get reelected to wherever he's at right now. Maybe he will. That's a pretty sad place if they reelect this person again. Fool me once.
Folks are starting to question.
Fool me twice.
Yeah. So I want you guys to understand. Again, Rachel Maddow, just put it out there plainly. I didn't read the story, guys, right? I'm reading it right now. I don't know whether it's true. I don't know what's really in the story. All I did was read the headline. Here's Tim Walz rage about this. Even though, again, we don't really know what it's about. We haven't really confirmed ourselves to see whether or not this is true, right? Again, with that type of allegation, right? That President Trump is allowing Elon Musk to get access to plans to fight war with China, knowing that Elon Musk has like a clear conflict of interest when it comes to the business that he's doing in China. Again, that's a huge allegation to make, right? Again, you would think these media outlets would wait and actually confirm and verify that, hey, this is actually what's happening, or that this did happen, okay, after the meeting, before reporting on this as if it's fact. But that's not what they're doing. They're quite literally using fake news to radicalize the deranged base of the Democrat Party, right? That's literally what's happening. They just outlined it for you. Tim Walz just said, yeah, stories like this is why our base is radicalized, right? This is why they're losing their minds and committing terrorist attacks against Tesla, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fake news. And we've seen this play before, right? The Democrats call it the wrap-up smear.
And we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear. And
yeah, that's how we do it. That's the slander campaign. That's how we do it. Dirty, filthy, nasty, subversive, criminal. That's what they think of you. And the establishment useful idiots line up to worship it. Tell me mind control isn't real. Tell me it's not real. It is. It's right there. You're seeing it. They're telling you how they're doing it. And we already know how the human brain works. Repetition. Archetype overwriting. It's kind of like passing it so you can see it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you got to pass it so you can see it. It makes sense, right? You're stupid if you don't think so. Nothing more than a buffoon propaganda milling machine. Oh, yeah. How much is the lawsuit worth? Reporting news like that should get a station taken up there. You would think so in an honest society. That's what I'm saying. There, there may need to be something, some way to shut this down. I know, but it's going to cause half the country to be like, they're silent in free speech. They don't understand they're under the spell of subversion, right? They don't understand what propaganda really means. They think that it's only Trump's doing it because that's what they've been programmed to believe in their boxed in false establishment narrative. Their life is in a box, and it's a sad existence. Like when we look, I don't know how you guys visualize it, but I'll tell you how I do. When I look at those people, I see people walking around with boxes on their head. Like I see them inside of a box. Like we're looking down and they're all in this little box going, you don't know anything. Right. But we know there's a world outside of that box you're in. And that's the real world. They're like in a terrarium. They're like a bunch of ants in an ant terrarium or something. I see people that have blinders on. They walk around like this and they can't see. I see people who can't turn their necks. And I don't know how you visualize it, but I see people that are being abused with torture devices. That's what I see. So you're telegraphing what you're doing. Yeah, of course they are. They're telling you, well, I'll tell you how we do it. This is how we fuck with people's heads. Yeah. This is how we make people believe things. And I'm so proud of it. I'm just so proud of it. This is hopefully what our world is heading out of. We've been in this forever, MJ. I'm hoping this is what we're heading out of. That's what we're trying to do. Ethical standards. These are expectations, like reporting what is really happening. Yeah, it should be. They're paid for taking. They're paid for talking piece of the Marxist deep state. Yep. I saw a post on Facehole earlier that there is a planned attack on Tesla up in Knoxville tomorrow. They'll all go to jail. They'll all have their lives ruined. They'll all be felons who can't vote. Keep it up. Please keep it up. Please keep it up. You're making it so easy for us. And I love it because we just shouldn't have to. We've been working hard for decades. We shouldn't have to work hard anymore. We should be able to sit back and just repair our country and watch you guys age out, die, unreproduced. And it'll be gone. And we'll be in a better world because of it. Oh, man. So many of those those establishment bootlickers are childless and will never, ever be able to reproduce. They're too old. They partied their way through it and they are done. They're done and they won't be able to recoup from it. And then the other ones who did actually reproduce ruin their children. So those people will be out for revenge one day and we'll help them get it because they are victims of their victims of victims. That's how things get handed down. Abuse gets handed down. Narcissism gets handed down. Victims of victims of victims of victims. We got to stop the cycle of abuse to stop the cycle of that is creating victims and creating subjectable, useful idiots, just primed to be corrupted, primed to be demoralized, primed to turn into criminals, primed to turn into useful idiots, data processing, establishment puppets, man. We gotta do this. That's where it all comes from. These people are created. They're created from the youngest generation. Until we address that, we don't stop the cycle. But we'll get there. We'll get there. This guy keeps saying it over and over again. It'll happen. And I need you to say it too. Right? I need you to say it too. It takes more than just me saying it. Right? I need other people that believe it and have come to see it and come to understand it, to be part of the voice with the idea, the grand idea of us winning our reality back from these people right here. This one right here. These archetypes of destruction, right? Archetypes of destruction. Architects of destruction. There we go. Slow down and it comes out right. Who would have thunk it? All right, let's get back to it.
Then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic. And it's self-evident. But I think I'm worth the trouble.
They're telling you what they're doing. Okay. And this whole Elon Musk Pentagon story is clearly what that is, right? Let's just have the New York Times report some wild thing that some anonymous source that, again, nobody can confirm actually said this, right? But it's because the New York Times, they must be trustworthy, right? We must believe it. Again, there's no credibility whatsoever, but they reported it's factual because, hey, the New York Times said it, right? So the New York Times said this happened. Therefore, it must be true, right? All of these media outlets run this bogus story, again, based off anonymous sources that can never be verified to see whether or not these things are actually true, right? But they
that's the take it on faith. Take it on faith. Remember we talked about that earlier in the show. I bring it up a lot. That's the grifter's tool. Take my word for it. Take it on faith. Take it on faith. How many times in the last, so many minutes you've been speaking that you asked me to take something on your faith, right? On faith that you're telling me the truth. Your hearsay faith. Oh yeah, I'm real stupid. I'm going to do that.
They've already ran the story. They've already smeared Elon Musk and President Trump. And again, that's the goal. And that's how you end up in situations like a story that I covered the other day where you had MSNBC. They had to come out and give a retraction over the fact that they ran a story from the Associated Press in which the Associated Press claimed that Tulsi Gabbard stated that President Trump and Vladimir Putin are friends. Okay. When in the full interview, Tulsi was clearly talking about President Trump and his relationship with the Prime Minister of India and not Putin. Okay, MSNBC had to embarrass themselves by again coming out and saying that, yeah, we got that wrong. Now, they didn't apologize for it because they don't apologize for lying to the American people. They don't apologize for that. They just say, well, we lied and we're going to move on, right? That's what happens, right? That's exactly what happened. So President Trump was asked about this story during a press conference in the Oval Office, and he went off on the liberal media and explained why this story is fake news.
You guys are denying this New York Times report that Elon Musk was going to be shown a 20 to 30 page presentation about a theoretical war plan against China. Why not just show it to Elon?
Because I don't want to show it to anybody. You're talking about a potential war with China. Now, I deal with these people all the time, and I'm dealing with Pete. I'm dealing with these gentlemen on numerous different airplane purchases, and I think they're all going to be great. But I don't want other people seeing potential war with China. We don't want to have a potential war with China, but I can tell you if we did, we're very well equipped to handle it. But I don't want to show that to anybody. But certainly you wouldn't show it to a businessman who is helping us so much. He's a great patriot. He's paying a big price for helping us cut costs. And he's doing a great job. He's finding tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. But I certainly wouldn't want, Elon has businesses in China, and he would be susceptible perhaps to that. But it was such a fake story. The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. And anybody read that story, people laughed at that story. Who would do such a thing? And the first thing I did is I called Susie and I called Pete. I said, is there any truth to that? And they said, it's ridiculous. No, he's over there to talk about costs. You might want to address that, Pete. But Elon was over there today to address costs. Doge, thing called Doge, which you've heard about.
That's exactly right, Mr. President. You pointed out it was a fake story. We pointed out it was meant to sort of undermine whatever relationship the Pentagon has with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a patriot. Elon Musk is an innovator. Elon Musk provides a lot of capabilities our government and our military rely on, and I'm grateful for that. We welcomed him today to the Pentagon to talk about Doge, to talk about efficiencies, to talk about innovations. It was a great informal conversation. The rest of that reporting was fake. There was no war plans. There was no Chinese war plans. There was no secret plans. That's not what we were doing at the Pentagon.
I might add that I think Elon, if they ever wanted to do that, I think Elon wouldn't do it. I think he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't want to put himself in that position. But if you read what's out of the New York Times, it's such a dishonest newspaper. It's such garbage. It's, it used to be called all the news that's fit to print. Well, it's all the news that's not fit to print. They have fake sources or they don't have sources. I think they make most of it up. But this was a made up story by the New York Times. I call it the failing. It's a failing newspaper. It's failing. And they shouldn't do that. They really are the enemy of the people.
And something else I don't know
we do need honest journalism in this. We've made such big strides over the last 2 months. But we just need honest journalism, and we don't have it. When you have a CNN, you have to watch these people every once in a while just to see where they're coming from, and it's so dishonest. MSNBC is, I think, probably worse, and they're both doing horribly in the ratings. I think they're going to be turned off.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, the president clearly explained that the reason why the Pentagon is meeting with Elon Musk is to do what liberals claim that they want, right? Which is to cut costs at the Pentagon, right? This is what they have been begging for Elon to do. So instead of going after Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare, he should go after the Pentagon. Elon Musk goes after the Pentagon, and then they're saying, oh, Elon is getting war information with China from the Pentagon. He can't do that, right? Again, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
So first of all, I've heard my Democratic colleagues for years talk about the need to downsize the Pentagon and downsize the spending.
I think the question is
Abby, let me
how
finish,
and who. That's what the point that I was trying to get.
Okay, well, the how and who is going to be determined by the department and by Congress. But here's the bottom line. My Democratic colleagues have argued for years that the Pentagon is too big, that we need to downsize the size and the scope of the Pentagon. And so you're sitting here now arguing, saying, Well, Elon Musk is trying to cut the size of the Pentagon. Well, if he is going to go in and make recommendations to the Secretary of Defense, which is what the administration has outlined in the last few weeks, they had that cabinet meeting, and the president made clear Elon Musk's role is to advise, to make recommendations. The cabinet secretaries are the one who is going to make the determination. So if he's meeting with
I'm
Pete
stepping in is because I think you're mischaracterizing my question to you.
No, I'm not.
No. What I'm asking you,
invited
Congressman, what I'm asking you is,
What I'm
you say, I think
trying
you're
to do
right.
is create
It
a
is up to
lie, and you're
Congress.
really
It should
screwing
be
it all
probably
up.
up to the Pentagon civilian and military leadership to understand what the needs are.
You don't know
that
what
would be
shit
fine,
is.
but that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about Elon and Doge, who have no understanding of these systems, stepping into that conversation. And I'm asking you whether you think that's appropriate.
What do you think stepping into that conversation? That's the bullshit line. Stepping in to the conversation. They're stepping into it, guys. He's stepping in. He's using his feet. You use your feet to step, and evidently he shouldn't be using his feet in the Pentagon. That's what I'm trying to say. You're mischaracterizing like slander.
Well, actually, the way the Department of Government Efficiency has been established, they do have career staff as part of it within each department. And they are working closely within the leadership of each department and with the Department of Government Efficiency to identify specific efficiencies and savings. What the president has said.
Somebody didn't do their homework. Someone was super duper lazy. Super lazy reporting, didn't do our homework, didn't understand how the shit works, but says that they don't understand how the shit works. You see how that works? Wow. Someone's so lazy, she didn't do her homework about what she's talking about. Now she's trying to sell it to a bunch of mind control victims who listen to CNN.
Suggests that he doesn't have a basic understanding of it, which is why he needs to talk. The article suggests that the reason for the briefing is because they need him to understand why, for example, building ships is important in a potential war.
Let me help.
So if he doesn't understand that,
he's taking a very long time.
Hold on, Jamal, just give me a second here, because I just want to finish this and we got to go. If in fact he doesn't understand this, why is it that he's involved in these conversations if the only way to get him to understand is to give him a top secret briefing?
Well, again, within each department and agency, he is meeting with the secretaries. He is meeting with top officials within each department and agency as they are coming up with the recommendations, as they are going through all of the data, all of the information to make the appropriate recommendations. Should he not be meeting with the cabinet secretary?
No.
I mean,
Listen,
ultimately,
this is not a meeting with cabinet secretaries. We're talking about a briefing on. We're talking about.
You don't know, lady, who's only probably there for the wrong reasons. You don't really know anything that you're talking about. All your job is to do is try to make Elon and Trump look bad. That's it. Everybody sees what you're doing. You don't know what you're talking about. Like you're arguing. This is a woman who will argue about anything, right? She'll ruin your life, guys. If you ever get around something like this, you run. She'll ruin your life. Everything's a fucking argument. Right? Everything. And they don't know what they're talking about at all. She doesn't know what she's talking about at all. Right? But for people who want conflict and want people to resist and attack Elon and Trump, she's that's what she's there for. She's there to be that archetype of complete chaos, complete incoherent responses. And guess what? People take their cues from people like this, and they become that. So if you ever notice when you're having an argument with a first bail mind control victim, say it's your college friend or whatever, and they start getting into this portrayal, they'll start portraying these people that they're watching on CNN because you're hitting them with the logical arguments, right? You're coming out there trying to just have a conversation. You're this guy, right? You're trying to explain things logically. Right. And then they become the irritated black woman sitting in the chair who doesn't know what she's talking about. They literally, I don't care if it's a guy, girl, whatever, they'll become this person and they'll just keep arguing shit they don't know what they're talking about. That's why you got to call them out on that. Like you don't keep the argument. That's when it's called a communication breakdown. Right. And that's when you don't continue the conversation. What you do is you call them out on what they don't know. Right. You send them to school, you plant. That's called seed planting. That's the thing that they can't do on television that they should. Right. This guy should be going like, okay, stop. I'm not going to argue with you. Right. You've already demonstrated to me you don't understand how this works. Okay. Well, that's not what I'm. No. We're done. That we can't have a conversation because you don't understand how it works. Now, when I tried to explain it to you, you cut me off and you started saying it was something else. The bottom line is you haven't done your homework. You don't understand what you're talking about. And until you do, we can't have this conversation. I'd love to talk about something else if you want, but at this point, you've conceded the argument to me. You really don't know what you're talking about. Well, I don't think that's true. Well, okay, you can go home and think about it, but it's just truth. Everybody else saw it. Everybody else saw it. She is unqualified for real. Yeah, this is what they're turning out in communications departments around the country, right? She gets a passing grade and she gets to come on into school for free probably, but she gets a passing grade, all right, for being abstruse and to being someone who's going to be out there and cause problems and cause and enable subversion, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. Some of these idiots would do better hosting Jerry Springer. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Is Jerry Springer still in the air? I thought he passed. Did he pass away? Is he still around?
Him to come meet.
All right. Well, the article is talking about a briefing that Pete Hegseth himself only got last.
So all you have is the information in the article. Okay. The article is talking about a briefing. Well, what article are you reading from where? What, from CNN? Hold on a second. Things are getting choppy here, aren't they? Hang on a second. All right. All right. Sorry about that. I had to fix some background noise issues here. All right. So again, where was it? This woman, right? This woman's reading an article given to her by someone that she doesn't know. She doesn't know the context of it. She doesn't know anything that's going on. But here she is arguing with the man who does. He's trying to explain things to her. This is the example. We're having an example of discourse in our day and age, right? Somebody who has knowledge is trying to explain to somebody else who's taking a piece of propaganda and making it their Bible and then resisting the new information that's coming in because it contradicts what their propaganda is telling them, right? It's interfering with their new belief system.
Week. And it was finished on Wednesday. He literally is getting this information for the very first time, and he is the defense secretary. And now 2 days later, Elon is getting that information.
That you just drew a false conclusion there. That's not what it is at all.
That doesn't surprise you at all.
Say one quick thing, right? But again, when you actually understand what Doge is doing, right, you kind of understand that a lot of the outreach, a vast majority of outreach is just so overblown from the media. Doge is doing things that our government should have did a long time ago, but just refused to because, again, our government is just so bloated. Like, for example, listen to what Doge is doing when it comes to modernizing the IRS, which I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be a similar approach that they take to the Pentagon, which, again, is making sure that our infrastructure is modern.
Tell us what brought you here into Washington and what your top priority is.
Yeah, I've been brought in to look at the IRS's modernization program in particular, as well as the operations and maintenance budget. I really care a lot about this country, and this is a huge program that's currently 30 years behind schedule, and it's already $15 billion over budget.
Wait a second. Explain to our viewers what the program is in layman's terms.
Yeah, so the goal is to take, the IRS has some pretty legacy infrastructure. It's actually very similar to what banks have been using. It's old mainframes running COBOL and assembly. And the challenge has been, how do we migrate that to a modern system? Virtually every bank has already done this, but we're still using a lot of those same systems. And typically in industry, this takes a few years, maybe a few $100 million. And we're now 35 years into this program. We've actually been, if you ask them now, it's 5 years away. And it's been 5 years away since 1990. It's supposed to be delivered in 1996. And it's still 5 years away.
All right. Yeah, so that guy that was on OMG, O'Keefe Media Group, the other night, the whistleblower guy, he actually, they actually took away his access. He was saying the same thing this guy is saying, and he actually came up with a way to fix it. And I think one of the reasons why they love the antiquated system is because then they can screw with it, right? They can backdoor money out of it. So it would make sense to me that the reason why they haven't updated these systems is because there's probably some hanky panky going on. They don't want this guy figuring it out. Now he may just be there to upgrade it. But hey, Pothead Kenny, what's up? How you doing? Good to see ya. He might just be there to upgrade it. but he might come across some back doors where they were dropping big amounts of money into a folder with no tracking ability whatsoever, and ACH that money right on out of there, right? And it might just go through the Federal Reserve and out back and around somewhere too. There's all kinds of banks that can be doing this shit for them. All you got to do is drop a file in drop one file in another folder, and with no tracking on it, and it's gone. Especially in that system he's talking about. I've seen it, man. They can do this big black hole. You can drop money in this black hole. No one will ever find it. Ever know it's gone. They'll think it went somewhere else, and then take somebody like this to actually figure it out. And they don't want that. They sure don't want it upgraded, because then, oh my God, all these back doors, they're closed. We can't take our money out of it anymore. We can't steal any more taxpayer money for bullshit. And then what do? Put your tack dogs on it. You're barking hounds at CNN. Don't let Elon in there. He doesn't know. He shouldn't get all this stuff.
In your area of expertise that informs your ability to do this review is what?
So don't try
I'm a software
hard.
developer by background, and I'm a CEO of a software technology company.
So when you came into the department, the first thing you do is just get into the guts of the system and see how it operates?
Yeah, really talk to the software developers, talk to the people on the ground and what they're seeing. I think one encouraging thing is we actually have quite a lot of software talent on the ground, people writing code. We actually have quite a lot of good people. It is almost always the case that when I ask them what the correct answer is, how do we solve these problems, they're almost always right, which is good. They just haven't been in a position to be empowered to make those decisions. So I'm actually pretty optimistic that we can solve this.
Secretary Bessent, why has this taken so long? I mean, Sam seems obviously very, very successful, extremely intelligent, but I assume we have other Sams in the United States. We could have had a Sam 15 years ago come in and fix this. What is going on?
Well, Laura, you've been in DC a long time. I've been here 8 weeks, but one of the biggest surprises for me is just seeing how these entrenched interests, they just keep constricting themselves around the power, around the money, around the systems, and nobody cares. I mean, I said to Sam today, I said the IRS system was supposed to be delivered in 1996, and he said no, it was started in 1990. So that's how far behind they are, and nobody cares. And the other thing we're seeing too is, as Sam said, some of the employees, many of the employees are fantastic. It's this consultant group who has they're like a boa constrictor, they're like a python. They've got themselves
no pun intended. Python language. All you coders out there.
It was intended. So
okay, thanks.
But they constrict themselves around our government, and the costs are unbelievable that are being passed on to the American taxpayer.
Okay, so Sam, again, you come in from this tech company. You've been in directing engineering teams. You've been doing your own coding and software engineering for so many years. But you come in here and you see this is one of the most important departments in the world, not just in our government, in the world. And you see how this has been organized and run for so many years. What, as a human being, what is your reaction to that? Were you stunned as I am just hearing about that?
Yeah, it's hard to really
like
grasp
retards
the scale of this, because we process at the IRS about the same amount of data as a mid-sized bank. And a typical mid-sized bank will have somewhere between 1 and 200 people in IT, and they'll have an operations and maintenance budget in like the $20 million a year range. We have 8,000 people in IT, and our operations and maintenance budget is $3.5 billion a year. I don't really know why yet, but I will tell you that 80% of that budget goes to contractors and licenses.
So the contractors and putting these projects out to bid, Mr. Secretary, how big a problem has that been?
Well, clearly it's a problem, and that's why when you and I were talking the other night, that's why I wanted to bring Sam in, because I just got a briefing from him, and my jaw hit the ground when he was talking about the cost, the timeline. As you know, we talked about it before. I have 3 priorities with the IRS: collections, privacy, customer service, and none of those are being well served.
Yeah, so after listening to that, okay, and learning about what Doge is actually doing, no reasonable person should disagree with the goal of making our government more modern, right? While at the same time cutting costs associated with a lot of these special interests, these contractors, these groups that are basically living off of the government, off of the taxpayer. And my gut feeling is that whoever leaked this fake story to the New York Times about Elon Musk meeting with the Pentagon to discuss war plans with China was doing so in order to disrupt the doging of the Pentagon, okay? Because I think the agency with the most waste, fraud, and abuse by far has to be the Pentagon. Everybody knows it. And this is the big one, right? This is the big boy for Doge. And yeah, I mean, clearly you have special interests on the inside that, again, want to stop that from happening. And I think that's why the so-called anonymous source put out that information as a way to smear Elon Musk and his Doge effort at the Pentagon before it really gets started. Okay, because again, the people who are the most upset are those that are depending on the government, who are making money off of the government in ways that are not beneficial for taxpayers. They want to keep that money train coming in, right? And Doge is a threat to their money. Again, this is why you have the media and the Democrats and all of these special interests mobilizing against Elon Musk and Doge, because they understand that cutting out the waste, fraud, and abuse means that a lot of their money is going to dry up, right? The money that they make from the government. So I think that's what's happening here. Again, it's just a damn shame that the media ran with a story that clearly was not true, right? But yeah, they presented it as if it was factual. And it's just like, this is why people don't respect journalists. This is why people don't respect so-called modern day journalism, because all it is just a smear campaign against the president. And, you know, these media outlets just haven't learned their lesson, right? They have not learned their lesson, despite the fact they have zero credibility at all at this point. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.
Peace. All right, dude. Cool, dude. Love his stuff. All right, man. I think I have, we had a good stream tonight, man. I got more stuff, but you know, like, you guys want to do another 7 minutes? Let's see. Oh, it's Friday. Wolfram doesn't have to go to bed early tonight. Let's do 7 more minutes. 7 more minutes. All right. Because I want to show you one more thing here. Former Hunter business partner exposes Biden-Obama Department of Justice legal secrets. I haven't seen this yet. Let's react together. Let's go.
All right, so within hours after a reporter told the president that Hunter and
this
Ashley
guy
Biden
again
had a combined 31 Secret Service agents that follow them around and protect them as they travel the world, Trump revoked their privilege. It took like 2 hours for that to happen. Writing on Truth Social, effective immediately, Hunter Biden will no longer receive Secret Service protection. Likewise, Ashley Biden, who has 13 agents to herself, will be taken off the list. So there are these photos that were obtained exclusively by Laura Loomer, who does have some great stuff. Hunter was spotted on this luxury vacation in Cape Town, which is a fun town, in South Africa last week. Had a security detail there. A total of 18 agents following Hunter Biden around, this kid that has made a fortune off of his dad being in power. How bad does that look? Well, not anymore. Devin Archer is Hunter's former friend and business partner. He was also instrumental in Joe Biden's impeachment inquiry, one of the first to come out to speak out on the very obvious Biden corruption. And Devin joins us here tonight. Devin, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you.
So we're going to talk about a few things here, but I just want to start with how rapidly the president took away the Secret Service protection, give you an indication of how he feels about the Biden family, right?
Amazing. Well, thanks for having me. I actually thought we were going to talk about the JFK file.
We do that too, whatever you want.
I'm not a one-act wonder.
But yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So the president, he sees just how dirty that family is, and he's not wrong, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you see the waste in government, and you see this privilege that's bestowed upon Hunter for no particular reason. I don't see what he's done for the country that commands any service beyond a vice president. Usually, has Secret Service leave after 1 or 2 weeks.
Do you believe? I mean, he's saying he's broke now. That's the latest thing. I mean, he's hanging out in South Africa in the winter. That's a pretty nice trip.
Yeah.
But he says he's broke. That's what he's saying to these judges as he faces whatever he's facing. Do you buy that?
Do I buy that he's broke? I do. I have no view into his personal finances or know much about his professional career. I know his painting was his latest adventure. And I would assume that he had a lawyer that was supporting him for some time. I do believe that was cut off, and so I could imagine that he's broke. I don't know what tangible skills that he has to kind of make income at the moment. So
nothing. Yeah,
I believe it.
Well, let's talk about you for a second. Yeah. You were one of the first whistleblowers who kicked off Biden's impeachment inquiry. That took a lot of guts, especially at that time. You testified Hunter was selling the Biden brand. He would often put Joe on speakerphone during these business meetings when he was the vice president of the United States. Right now, you're fighting a big legal fight. You thought maybe you were going to go to jail. It was a deal you did with Hunter. It was something about defrauding, I guess, an Indian reservation or an Indian tribe. You believe that Joe Biden, when he was the president of the United States, pressured, I guess, prosecutors to take Hunter off and make you the fall guy for this? Is that what you say?
I believe that there was a legal apparatus that surrounded Hunter. It was Biden, Obama's DOJ, and I was a witness, I was a subject, and I was a target very quickly in the evolution. The original.
All right, that sounds good. So there you go. Sorry, that wasn't as interesting as I thought it was. I'm going to send Breakwood on vacation. But the good news is no longer is he getting his protection. I'm going to send you guys on YouTube over to my friend, Mr. Malloy, who is he's an elderly gentleman who lives in a nursing home in Utah. He's a nice guy. He's having a 24-hour stream. I'm going to send you Rumblers over as my ambassadors to Badland Media, who has a rockin' stream going on right now. Say hello to everybody. Get them to come check out the channel. You are my ambassadors. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys over there doing the good work for me, because we got to help growing that channel. We're getting there. We're at 670, man. We want to get to 1200 by the end of the year. So we got to keep working hard every single day. So I'm sending you guys over there right now. All right. And we are set to go to Mr. Malloy's, right? Okay, I did save it. All right, cool. So I'll see you guys over Mr. Malloy's. I'm not going to go on panel, but I'm just going to say hello real quick. So I need to eat and get on with my evening, as you guys probably do too. But thank you guys so much. Especially Arlene, thank you for being here. I love the way you contributed tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. Go see Mr. Malloy. Okay, go see Mr. Malloy. All right. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys on. I will see you guys Monday for Unrig the Game. More with War on Warriors by Pete Hegseth. I'll see you then. Until that time, have a great weekend. Stay based and keep on winning.
If you've lost faith in humanity, clap your hands. If you've lost faith in humanity, and this is your villain origin story, if you've lost faith in humanity, clap your hands.
This is a friendship that'll never